Good evening, everybody. How are you? It's Friday! TGIF! So sorry my computer wouldn't work. I was having so many issues. I'm so glad to see everybody. Can you guys hear me okay? I hope so. I never know. I'm just waiting for Jeannie to join us. Jeannie somehow, I think, chat. Oh my gosh. We have so much to talk about. Aww. Hey, woman. I think you're muted. Oh, awesome. I'm
Hey,
so glad.
love, sorry.
Oh, no problem. Oh, what a night. Holy moly. Couldn't get anything to work.
You good now?
Yeah, everything's working now. My light's a little low. Should I turn it up? Hold on. I mean, it is Friday. Let me turn it up a second. Hold on.
No.
Don't mind me.
Like, it's Friday. It's gonna be dark.
There we go. Oh, that's a little better. I even did my makeup. I got eyelashes on and everything. It's a special occasion.
Exactly.
Oh,
Our special appearance.
All right. Woohoo! Frankie, Sam, Beatrice, Mrs. B. Who else? Jennifer, Julie. Oh my gosh, you guys! Thanks so much for being here.
Yes. This is
Gina,
awesome. Look
Dawn.
at all of this.
Right.
I don't know what happened. It was like 15 people 5 minutes ago. You hit the screen and now there's like 46.
Maybe they. I think they just needed to know that somebody was there. All right, let me
Next
raise
is
my
Tomahawk. Hey, how are you, love?
So we have so much to catch up on. Leticia. I mean, I know everybody is probably over talking about Leticia. There's the Lori Vallow, or we can just talk about the weather. I don't care, but I feel like we had, don't you, Jeannie? I feel like we have a lot to talk about.
Yes. I went to get out my notebook and I was like, oh no, what day? What day were we on? I don't even know. Like, I'm like looking what days. And then I said to Mike, help me. And I was like, never mind. It was Dr. Lewis. I got this. I remember now.
Yes, Dr.
15
Lewis.
minutes
Yes.
to remember like where we left off.
Right. And I think we can all agree that she did not help Letitia's case at all.
No.
If I can't remember and I don't know because I didn't do it.
Oh, and let's not forget the topper. I promise I don't have those notes. I don't have that paper.
Nope.
And then 2 minutes later, she has the paper, and I thought the prosecutor was just going to blow his stack.
And
the judge was like, that's it. Get the jury out of here.
Which was so wild. You rarely see that, right, Jeannie?
Oh, yeah.
Where they just drag them out in the middle of, testimony.
I've seen judges that are constantly taking the jury in and out. I've seen it, but not like that. Not like a dead stop right now. Get them out of the room. That.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, so she, just her whole testimony. It was like watching a train wreck. I can't believe what's happening. Yes. You're watching it happen. It's like, girl,
but you can't stop.
Right. Exactly. Hey, Hillary, thank you so much. Love you, doll. That is so nice. Yeah. It was all over the place, or as far as emotion. But remember when we were talking back and forth, and you were like, I just want her to just be disqualified.
Yeah.
And I was like, no. She's gonna appeal. It's
like, I want her out of there.
I'm like, no, keep her there. She's not helping at all.
I had just lost it by then.
Right. I'm like, just keep her right there.
Notes. Like, I was looking back through my pages, and my writing even looks angry. like when I was writing down all of her testimony, because I was trying to keep track of like every question and every answer, and pretty much the answers were IDK. I don't know. So yeah, it was
I don't know.
angry
I don't know. I don't
writing.
know.
She
Right,
made me
right.
angry. Yeah, yeah.
Will you stay up? I'm going to try to move my
And
camera
you know what?
without.
What I really loved, I've never. Well, I don't. I would have to look, but I don't think I've seen it. This quick, okay, we have a verdict, let's go to sentencing. I was literally in shock. I mean, I guess maybe the prosecutor was aware because he had everyone there with their, victim impact statements, but usually it's okay, let's set sentencing for 2 weeks or 2 months, or in Lori Vallow's case, 3 months. But
Yeah.
you never see, let's just do this right now. Yeah.
It was
Yeah. I was like,
so
wow.
bizarre. I was like, what? And of course, I was in Vegas, so trying to spend time with family, that consumed me more than I thought it was. I thought I was going to be able to work more, but they had
Yep.
dinner plans and we're doing this and we're going to see this show and we're doing this. And it just, yeah, there was no way I could ever get any work. And besides that, there was just people in and out of the room. There was 10 of
Oh
us.
yeah.
And so there was just constantly something. Yeah. So anyways, um, so I'm there and me and Jeannie are talking about it and she's watching it and giving me notes and then I'm on the lookout and then it was like, well, the judge said we can do the sentencing now. What? I'm missing everything.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And you couldn't go online. I'm like,
Yeah.
she can't even go online. You have to wait. You have to wait.
Oh my God, it
Excuse me,
was
Your Honor.
awful.
Can you wait for Kim? She needs to get back from Vegas. Just give us a couple days. We'll be ready.
Don't rush this. Let me be.
Exactly.
But I it was the best outcome that you could possibly imagine.
Oh yeah. Yeah, hands down from that to the sentencing. And I have to say, I typed up all the victim impact statements because I didn't know what we would have access to. And when Al Stout got up there and started saying he wanted her to get, for every mile she drove his baby boy to Florida, he wanted her to get 1 day in solitary confinement. And I was like, absolutely. I've
Absolutely
never
right.
heard anything like that. And then 1 day for every day of Harley's life that she messed up, I want her to get 1 day in solitary. Obviously, it can't happen, but
Right.
I've never heard someone stand up and say anything like that. And I was like, look at him go.
What did you tell us what he said? Just just as
He
a
said,
reminder.
he said, it was in sentencing, and he said, um, well, it was the victim impact statements before sentencing, and he had given his whole thing. He talked about what it was like, and he talked about Gannon, and he really talked about like uh, he kind of collapsed on the stand and on the podium, and he was just sobbing, and he was just like, okay, I got this. And he would go from these moments of being so solid to just losing it and then solid again. And I was just cringing for the man. So he gets to the end and he says, there is one other thing. He said, for every mile that she drove Gannon to Florida, 1,370 miles,
13.
I
Yeah,
want her to get 1 day in solitary confinement for
confinement.
every day.
Right.
And then for Harley's life that she ruined, I want
Yeah,
her to get 1 day for every day. So that was 22 years. So he had added it up, and I was like, wow,
right.
it's not going to happen, but damned if
You
it wasn't brilliant.
and we didn't see Harley at all, which she
No, but,
yeah.
if I was her, I wouldn't have been there either. I really, really
No.
hope. I mean, even his, um, you know, um, Landon's aunt. So
Mhm.
it would have been Gannon's great aunt, but Landon's aunt spoke before Landon, and she even talked about Harley. Then Landon talked about Harley, and then Al talked about Harley. That family is really like, you could tell that was really Harley was part of their family,
Yeah.
and Leticia took that away, and I hope that they can have some kind of relationship.
Yeah. No,
It
I
seems like Al would be a good influence in her life, right?
right, right. I imagine for Harley that would be incredibly hard, you know, yeah, I think it would be incredibly hard, not because he personally did anything, but just the whole
No,
situation of okay, he in the beginning, she blamed him because she trusted her
yeah,
mom, and then
yep.
to rebound from that, I know that I think if she reached out to him, he would be totally fine with it, but I think for
Oh, yeah,
her, it just is trauma, trauma, trauma written all over it, so,
yep.
yeah, you just don't know. I mean, I guess you don't know
And yeah,
how she feels, but
someone mentioned that it was a kaleidoscope of crime. Said, I hope that it burned Letitia that Al has moved on and remarried. And I don't know if you saw,
yes.
but he gave his statement from his wife first, and she said, a lot of people said I wouldn't be here if it weren't for Letitia, and you know what? I'd be fine with that because it
No.
would be Gannon would still be here. Which,
Exactly,
you know,
exactly. I would give up
yeah,
all of,
well,
my happiness, my marriage, my new kids,
yeah.
or whatever
Well,
they have
she
going
said,
on.
she said too that she had lost a son, so they are partners in grief. And
Mhm.
so she understood, like, if she could have her son back, she would give it all up. And so if he could have
Right.
his son back, she would give it up.
Right, right,
And
right.
yeah, I thought it was incredibly cool that he read a letter from her first. That and that burned Letitia, and Landon looked amazing. And Landon, she was just like, I
Mhm.
am Landon, I am his mother, and I was like, yes,
Right.
like they
Didn't he
were
say didn't Elle say something about your frizzy hair?
nappy headed. He called her nappy headed. I wrote it down and underlined it like 6 times. I was like, yes.
Come on, Elle. You give it to her.
Well, he
He's been
said,
read
Letitia wasn't always like this. She was beautiful and she was accomplished and she was educated. She was smart, and she was good with kids and she had all these things going in her life. He was trying to say, look, this is what she was. And he said, now she's this, I cannot, I have it typed up. Now she's this nappy headed, I'll have to pull it. I'm pulling it up right now. But yeah, I was like, oh, Al, that
well.
was like the best line ever.
Oh my gosh. I can't believe you said it. Like, what?
Yeah,
What?
nappy
What?
headed. I got to get the whole quote because it's killing me. But yeah, yeah, I was like, what?
Yeah, it
He
was
what?
it was heartbreaking, at least. I know we're making a joke of it, just because of the
Well,
nappy-headed part, but
yeah,
it is heartbreaking. You can feel his pain.
yeah,
From the not even before he even approached his testimony and everything. He loved that boy. That boy was
yeah.
loved.
Well, and also he loved her.
Yeah,
He made a point of letting everyone know that he loved Letitia at one time. And he
right,
said, the murder of which I speak was not always such. When I met Tisha, she was beautiful, extremely intelligent, as many have testified to, and seemingly successful woman. A far cry from the nappy headed, murderous, narcissistic, and arrogantly flippant human being that sits in our midst today. And then he went on to talk about her background and what she was like.
right,
And yeah, and then he says, however, although she remains too coward to state the facts of what she did again, and too much of a lily-livered, self-centered, pathological liar to ask for forgiveness, and too much of a facade of one who actually cares for others to have taken her frustrations out on an adult or one who could defend themselves. Like
right.
he was there.
It, before his breakdown, he was on. Well, I guess it wasn't before, but he was very, very much organized and
Yeah, yeah, his
that.
thoughts. Yeah, he had everything together. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. That's what fascinates me. That sums it up for me. What Al says. That is what drew me to this case. How did this happen overnight? How do you go from being so far left?
right. How do you get from there to here?
Yeah,
Right.
it's just I don't understand. They lived in a great neighborhood. They had money. He's in the military. I mean, they're having marriage problems, but there's no
Who
abuse.
doesn't?
Who doesn't? Who
And
doesn't go
there's
through
no
hard
abuse,
times?
there's no drugs, there's none of that.
That right,
You
right,
know, and you're right. Malshi said that he even apologized to Landon for allowing Letitia to manipulate them. And I
Yeah.
love that.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
that might have really just,
He's
I'm
gonna carry that
sure.
guilt. Yeah, he's gonna
Oh,
carry that
yes.
guilt. Yeah, and I'm sure when because they still have Lena together, so they
Yep.
still have to see each other. And I'm sure she's like, "This isn't your fault," because she trusted her too. How is that possible? Everybody trusted
Yeah.
her.
Um, I believe I did. Carol Hearn. Hey, Miss Carol Hearn. Um, LL is asking what made Letitia crack. So I may have missed it, but what made Letitia crack? If you're actually asking, I don't think they showed anything. I mean, Al talked about, you know, Landon talked about the fire video, and she said, "How dare you?
Right.
How dare you take a video of my baby that way?" Did she say that on there, or did she say that on that interview? I'm trying to think. Let me go look. I
Yeah, I'm
watched
not
it in an interview, and I'm not sure if it was there or here. I'm looking.
okay. Yeah. Hey, Marie, thanks for being here for your first time. And old bat to cats. Yes, you can see the impact statements online. I think there's segments of it on other channels. Court TV, of course, has it. If you don't want to watch
Yeah,
the whole thing, though, they have breakdowns,
yeah. Law and
and you can
Crime
watch
has
them.
split them apart. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and be prepared for your heart to be absolutely torn out of your chest.
Yeah,
Yeah, I if you don't wanna cry, don't watch them because it is heartbreaking,
yeah,
heartbreaking. It's you see these impact statements sometimes where they get up there and they're like, I'm gonna swear a little, but "You MF, you I fucking hate, I hope
yep.
you die," and, very angry,
Right. No
and
organization. Right.
no organization, no real information, no fact. It's just they just want to get everything off their chest, rotten hell and you
Yeah.
deserve. I mean, which Al kind of did with the solitary, but it was very organized. I don't know. It broke my heart. I can say
Yeah.
that for sure.
Um, Sam me asked, said it might have been her or Al. Someone mentioned something about the scary man in the cape. Landon talked about it, and she said it made her mad that Letitia tried to steal the one image of Landon that they had put out there, or Gannon that they put out there, because they've been putting out there a picture of Gannon in a cape for the last 3 years. He has been their hero, and literally
Aw,
wearing a cape. And then what does she do? She's in the freaking interview with Dr. Lewis and starts talking about how there's someone in a cape. And yeah, it
yeah,
really landed mad. And I don't blame her. I don't
yeah,
blame her. And I think she was pretty organized too. She was a lot of stream of consciousness. Like she just kept talking and talking. I just kept typing and typing. But
right, right,
um,
right.
but yeah, I don't know, Kim, that I could be that organized and be that calm, that close to my child's killer. I don't think I
Mm-mm,
can do it. I don't.
nope,
I know people have it in them. I know they do, but I'm not that
right.
one.
I
Like
I I
I'm not
personally
that
would
one.
let loose. I would be calling her nappy headed, you psycho, you
I would
ruined
be
my life, and
serious. I would literally be, betting the odds if I could get to her. Could
right.
I get to her? Could I at least scratch base and pull her hair out? Could I get to her? Like I would be looking at the way, where the guards were and I, I'm that kind of psycho. I think I do.
Oh,
I,
yeah.
I just I can't imagine the idea of losing your child. I have a really dear
Mhm,
friend, Sarah, and she lost her daughter, and I can't that what a mother goes through. I don't know. And I don't know how they do it. I don't. I'm really happy for Al that he has
mhm,
a wife that is going to understand,
mhm,
because they're both
mhm.
going through it together. But yeah, yeah, I know. Exactly, Marie. I couldn't be near her. I'd die to get to her. That would be me exactly.
Yep,
Yes.
yep, yep.
Um, Peggy, you're lost with this case. This we were talking about Leticia Stauch. She killed Gannon Stauch. He was 11 years old. She stabbed, strangled, shot, killed him, then carried his body to Florida in a suitcase and left it, threw it off the side of a bridge. I think she planned for it to be in the water, but it landed just under the bridge and was just there. So then bridge workers found him, and she was eventually prosecuted. It took 3 years. Sometimes it takes a lot longer. They weren't too far off, but and it was a long trial.
Oh, right,
At
right,
least
right.
5 weeks, I think, or did they make it 5 weeks?
They it was Monday that they had the verdict, so it went 6 weeks. With if you count that Monday, but
Oh,
the
so
j
it's
it
just
yeah,
okay.
so it went 5 weeks of testimony, and then we came to Monday, and they had 7 hours, 7.5 hours of deliberation. The jury was out.
Yes, they did. Yes,
Yeah,
yeah, they did.
which I don't know what took
Yeah.
them so long. I was sitting on the edge of my
Well,
seat. Lily's
I
like
was
me.
thinking about this. I was literally, and I don't know, maybe someone said it to me. It occurred to me that we know this case, right? We know this case. I have done deep dives on this case. I've researched, I've dug. I know the
Yes, you've
timeline. I know
been
where,
on this case, like, you eat breathe this case for weeks, yes, for sure.
sadly. And
Both of us, yeah.
but they didn't, right? And they didn't get that timeline. They didn't get that chart we were looking for, that pretty map,
Yeah.
until like the very last week.
I
And
know, they must have been
then they'll
dying at the edge of their seat, like, "Please just organize this, make it make sense."
exactly. And so they didn't get that until the end, and then they have crazy Dr. Lewis. So there had to have been at least some people, because a lot of times this happens on a jury, and they'll tell you this, that
Right.
they go back and they say, we want to look at all the evidence first.
Mhm.
Some will take a straw vote. They'll take a vote right away. They're not supposed to, but sometimes they will. But they'll
Right,
go back
right.
there and they'll look at all the evidence. And so that's a lot, right? That's a lot of evidence. It was
Yeah,
five
oh my
weeks worth
gosh.
of stuff.
Right.
And what if they wanted to watch her recordings with Dr. Lewis again?
Mhm.
I mean, it could have been that. Why was Leticia sentenced immediately, but Laura sentencing? Okay, because in the state of Idaho, they require PSI, a pre-sentence investigation, done on their individuals. So when
Mhm.
Lori Vallow Daybell was found guilty today, and I have her counts if anybody needs to know what she was found guilty of, and but they said that he said it could take a couple of months to get that done. And in this case, it's a bigger case. So he expects it to be maybe 3 months.
Yeah.
In the state of Colorado, they didn't need a PSI and they actually asked, and she waived a PSI. Now, PSI basically goes and looks at your background, your criminal history, and it looks at everything prior to. It can affect sentencing. So some defendants will want it, some defendants will not, but that's why. Colorado didn't require one, and the defense waived having a PSI. The judge asked.
Yeah.
She said she
Yeah.
didn't want one. It wouldn't have helped her, and that's why they didn't do it.
Right,
Apparently, in
right.
Idaho, it's mandatory. That's why Lori Vallow Daybell has to we have to wait 3 months for that. And also, she still has an outstanding charge for first degree murder in Arizona for Charles. So I don't
Oh, that's right.
I
Yeah.
don't know if
The
they'll take
Vallow
her on
case, yeah.
over there.
Yep.
Right. Um I was honestly, when it comes to Lori, I was shocked. I really thought, I don't know if everyone knows, but she was charged with, see, she had conspiracy to commit murder for Tylee and grand theft by deception. Now, that was because she was still getting the Social Security checks for Tylee's dad,
Right.
um, Joseph Ryan. So she was still getting his checks, and she knew Tylee was dead. The second count was the first degree murder of Tylee. And then the third count was like the same as the first, conspiracy to commit first degree murder for JJ and grand theft by deception. On JJ's, it was he also had benefits because Charles Daybell was dead, and
Mhm.
he was listed as his father on Social Security. So they were getting Social Security survivor benefits for both kids. I'm
Which
pretty sure she killed both husbands, then got Social Security benefits for the
yep.
kids, and then killed both kids.
Yes.
So there were
Yes.
those four counts, and then this one I didn't think they would do, but conspiracy to commit first degree murder for Tammy Daybell, and it was only the conspiracy, not the actual charge. She was still found guilty of it, and then the seventh count was grand theft, and that was because of the insurance fraud. She
Yep.
did have another count because of insurance fraud. Now she also in the state of Arizona has the conspiracy to commit murder of Charles. I don't know what's going to happen with that. Now,
Hmm.
Chad's charges are the same as Lori's, except he has first degree murder in the death of Tammy Daybell, and he has insurance fraud for the life insurance policy he collected.
Yep.
So that's their differences. But I think he is probably very, very scared today.
Oh my gosh! After he might as well do a plea deal if that's even on the table because it, if she's guilty, duh, he's going to be
Yeah.
guilty, right?
I
I mean,
wonder if
that's
they
just
give him one. Well, and here's the thing too, that now everyone was asking earlier, the death penalty was removed from Lori's case. The
hmm
the defense said two things. They didn't think they could get a jury that was going to be unbiased, and
yeah,
then her mental health needed to be considered. I thought
right.
both of those things were stupid, but the judge went with it and took the death penalty off the case. Um,
hmm
but those things don't apply to Chad. Chad doesn't have mental deficits that anyone's talked about.
Right, right.
There's a whole bunch of crazy going on in there, but no one's diagnosed it. And he doesn't have that to lean on. And
Yeah.
now the prosecution can say, look, Lori got, a valid trial in this town, so Chad should be
hmm
able to do the same. I
Right,
don't know. Will they put the death penalty? Will they have it attached to his? And the bigger question is, if they had the death penalty attached to Lori's, would they still have convicted?
right,
Because they did not have any direct evidence on anything relating any physical evidence relating to her and the death of the kids. She
right.
was definitely involved in the conspiracy charges, but they didn't have any physical evidence. So if it had been death penalty, what would have happened? You know?
Yeah. It would have been so much harder, and I think that's probably why they
Yeah,
downgraded it or whatever.
yeah,
But I'm almost happy that she didn't get death. I there's a what she did, it deserves it, don't get me wrong, but she just has that Leticia personality, Lori
yeah,
does,
yeah.
uh, that it's gonna be more punishment for her to just be in prison for the rest of her life,
Oh
like,
yeah.
just
She
soaking up
needs to be in the limelight, and there's no limelight
no
now. You're
limelight.
just a
No,
number,
and she
you know?
breathes men, like, that's
Oh
her
yeah.
deal. Like,
Yep.
I can't be alone. How many times has she been married and cheating and oh
Um
my gosh,
actually she has been married. Let me pull this up.
she
Because
just can't be alone.
her
Yeah,
name
she
is
can't
actually Lori Cox James LaGoya Ryan Fallow Daybell.
say
She
that 10
married,
times fast.
yes, I know. She married, let's see, one, two, three, four. Let's see, one, two, three, four, five. She there was I think his first name was Kurt Yanes was the first guy, and then Lagoya she had this son Colby with, and then Joseph Ryan she had
Right,
Kylie with, and then Charles Vallow um she adopted JJ with, and then
right.
the last one Daybell. Her maiden name is Cox if anybody cares, but yes, 5 times. Yeah, so she
Wow.
lives and breeds men. So
Men, yeah, if she's not in a relationship, I think she's almost defined
yeah,
by men. I didn't follow Lori's case that closely. The clips that I remember is that Jeep at the storage unit. Uh, I don't know if anybody recalls that, but this was probably early on. I seen some videos of the police tracking them, and they had this Jeep that they were loading up and doing this whole storage unit thingamabobber. But
I
anyway,
never
that's the
saw that.
extent. Yeah.
I never saw that.
Oh, yeah, okay. It was forever ago. Like I said, I haven't been following the case, so I don't know much about. I mean, I you can't some cases I really, I'm drawn
Yeah,
to, and then and I'm not saying
Yes.
Lori's case wasn't a big deal, and it was over covered. Like
Sure.
you couldn't really get away with it because some of my
No.
favorite
No.
creators were
No.
covering. So I would watch, and so Sarah from Better Off Red,
Yes.
right? Jeannie,
Yes.
she covered the whole case. So if you guys want to see, here I'll type it out here.
She covered specifically Lori Vallow Daybell herself. So it's from the perspective of where did Lori's life start and when then her whole progression, then how did she meet Chad? A little bit about the beginning of Chad's life. But it's all about Lori. So anything you ever want to know about
Yeah,
Lori, yeah, Better Off Red. And someone asked about Chad's trial. Now, originally, it was supposed to be in 2024, but the judge denied it and said the trial would be starting in April of 2023. Then it was changed again, and they're saying possibly not until June of 2024. But I'm not sure I'm sticking with that one because it's been changed so many times. So yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know when his trial will be. I think Idaho has got a lot going on.
oh, oh my gosh, yes. They were just horrible people, just horrible people.
Yeah,
The extent
yeah.
of their damage is just, if they were
The
still
bodies,
roaming around, yeah, the body count, they're almost like becoming
you
serial
know, and
killers.
sad that her brother Alex died early because he really needed to be prosecuted.
Right.
I'm pretty certain that he's actually the one that killed the kids. I don't know that Chad
Yeah.
did it. Alex
Right,
was there
right.
too. Um, so he was there then. He was the one that killed Charles Vallow. He was stalking and beating up Joseph Ryan before he died, her husband before that. Um, and he died. They say in natural causes. Joseph Ryan.
I
There was no
know. Yeah.
investigation. There's
Yeah.
just nothing done. And yeah. What was that question? What did Lori? What
What
Lori
did
did? Oh yeah. What Lori did to Charles Vallow burns you up. Yes, me too, Crystal. Um, he tried that video of him with the police when he's trying to explain to them, look, my wife is crazy. She has lost it, and I'm afraid for my kids.
Yep,
Remember? And
yep,
they help
yep.
him break into his house. That video just tears me up because he's trying so hard. And then the next day, there's another chance. He's smart. That night he finds out the house is emptied. She's taken everything, including his underwear. She took every single thing.
Every single thing.
And
Yeah.
every single thing. So he's smart. Next morning, he waits outside JJ's school, and he waits for her to go inside, and he steals her purse right out of her Jeep, and and he just goes off with it because then he has
Yeah.
her phone, and he has every she has her keys obviously, but
Right.
she goes to the police, and he's in the process of getting an order to have her held, and the police are flirting with her. Like the
Which
video
is
just
so
makes you crazy.
disgusting. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then she did get evaluated that day. She was taken to Bridges and she was evaluated and still released.
Yeah.
Like, how did she get past them? Because
She's
Lori
a
has
manipulating liar.
I I I don't know how much Lori believes. Um I don't know what she believes about Chad. I don't really know if this was a scam on her part
Yeah.
for more money. Um
Or if she's
yes,
just going
Patricia
along.
Burns.
What do you mean? Yeah.
Well, yes, Patricia Burns. She did get a payout after Joseph Ryan's death. She got $1 million life insurance policy, which should have gone to Tylee the day she turned 18.
Teen.
He
Absolutely.
disappeared right before she turned
She
18.
turned 18. Yeah.
Yes.
You almost have to wonder. Yeah.
Yeah. So, no, my thing is, Chad, I think is crazy like a fox. He's just wily, right? He's one of those guys that can manipulate and can pull people in. He obviously was starting
Mm-hmm.
his own cult. I mean, I'll say the word. Um,
Yep. Yep.
I know
Yep.
nobody wants to talk about that, but I think he was. And he
Yeah.
pulled all these people in with these crazy ideas. And I wonder if she believed in him. Did she really believe the things he said? Did she believe that they had lived all these past lives together? Did she believe that they had
Yeah.
this magic closet that was a portal where they could kill zombies and connect with each other in different states?
Yeah.
Literally, closets. Like, did she? Like that part just gets me. The portal in the closet. Like I open my closet all the time, thinking, "Is there one in there? Like, do
Yeah.
I get one?
Do I
Like, can I
have one?
go
Because
through it?
I
Yeah,
want one. If
I
Lori
want
has
a
one, I
portal in
want
the
one.
closet, right? But I mean, I don't know. Did she really believe those things, or was she just someone who
Acting
went
for
from man
the.
to man, right,
Yep.
and went along with whatever they did? When she was
Right.
with Charles Vallow, he was a good man, so she was a good woman. She pretended to be what he needed her to be. So is that what she was doing?
Right.
For Chad, did she? And I mean, come on, there's a lot of money behind all of this. Let's not forget.
That. Oh,
You've got
exactly.
the
Exactly.
life
And I kind of
insurance, the
think.
Social Security. JJ was
Hmm.
already on disability, so she had those payments.
Yeah.
You know, you kind of
I
think,
think
what?
it. I think it was all money. I don't. They. The, the cold. The. Her mental whatever, her
Yeah,
men
yeah,
and
yeah,
everything, it all comes down to money. They wanted to live this Hawaii dream, and the kids were in the way.
yeah,
They were,
absolutely.
which is just heartbreaking that they're so selfish, so selfish,
Well, and so cold.
so
I mean,
cold. Yeah,
Chad texted Tammy and told Tammy that he had been out back working and he saw one of those fat raccoons by the fence, so he had shot it and put it in their pet cemetery. That was Tylee Ryan. That was a little girl. And he texted her like it was nothing.
like
He
it's
also,
nothing, like
he was
nothing. Yeah,
right. He was also the guy who decided who was light and who was dark, which was he had these crazy ideas about how if you were light and this certain number, you could become dark. But if you were, it was a weird number thing.
right, right,
He immediately, her daughter was a 4.1 dark. You couldn't come back from that because I think once you were under a 3, over a 3, you could not change.
sure.
Her daughter, I mean, from the beginning, when they met, like they'd known each other 2 weeks when she got that email. How, what, how
How?
did she
Yeah,
get into her head that it was okay to kill her child
right,
for
right.
this man or with this man?
And you almost wonder if he wasn't in the picture and she married somebody else, would we be here? Would we be talking? Was he the
Right,
mastermind, which I feel he was,
was
but
he was the catalyst for sure.
right,
Definitely the catalyst. If she hadn't gone to that, was it a preparing a people meeting? I think that's what it is. I
it's
cannot remember. If he hadn't gone to that thing, what would have happened? He was already writing those books that were, supposed to be fiction, and then all of a sudden they meet each other and they're true stories. You
right,
know, he was already doing that, but he was self promoting those. He was paying for those on Amazon. He had his own little book making company. Can't remember the name of it, but they made their own.
ew,
They yeah.
yes,
So I don't know how successful his books would have been, and how much he would have done without her. You
right,
know,
right,
I think he saw her and he said, "She's got charisma. She can bring people in. She can add to me." You
mm-hmm.
know that's what I mean. That's what I see.
See, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it totally makes sense. Oh, I
Yeah.
just,
Oh,
I
go
just,
ahead.
yeah, I just wonder where we would be if it wasn't him kind of being the puppet master.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You
I
wonder
don't know.
which one it was. That's my thing. And we're
Yeah,
not going to know because she's not going to talk. I knew there was
exactly.
no way they were ever going to let her anywhere near Sam.
No.
But
That same with the Leticia. It's like,
she was
no.
right. Right.
They're
I
like,
mean,
no, 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 don't even do it.
no, no, no. But I mean, I don't know what I was going to say. I don't know. I was just reading that chat. I just don't get how kids are in the way. I have blast with my 3 kids. Right,
Oh, yes.
Marie. I get it. I don't either.
Yep.
I I I don't get it. And how does it get not just to my kids are in the way, but my kids are better off not here? I mean,
Yeah, so I can be rich.
yeah,
Um,
so I can be free. I mean, they went right to Hawaii and you saw those pictures. I mean,
mhm.
what I think
Disgusting. Yeah.
Tammy was dead like 9 days when they got married.
Mhm.
And they used Charles Vallow's Amazon account to order that ring. That's how his was it his sister or his aunt, one of the two of them got an alert, and they were like, "What? Charles is dead. What is going on?"
Right.
And she had ordered some ring for him, the wedding ring, and she'd used his freaking Amazon account. Like she kills him and then uses his account. I just
Yeah, which just shows that eh, she even though he was kind of the puppet master, she still had very, very evil tendency. Who does that? And
oh,
especially if they're responsible for what happened.
exactly.
There's no end.
Mm-mm.
And then when people were questioning, where is she? Where is she? At least Letitia came up with stories, at least she tried to say something, but she
She
wouldn't
was
say
creative.
anything. Yeah. And
No,
she,
nothing. I
nothing.
remember I remember it was right before COVID because I remember it was a boring day at work and I was working phone support and the guy sitting next to me was telling me about this woman who they couldn't find her kids. And I was like, "Oh, that's terrible. Is
Yeah.
she okay? And what's going on?" And he's like, "No, literally, she won't tell anyone where her kids are." I remember the beginning and yeah,
How do you,
what did
I
she think was going to happen? She had an extended family that knew she had kids.
right.
Did she just think they were never going to ask?
Yeah. Yeah. They're with so and so this weekend. Oh, they're with it forever.
One of the things that really got me was, and I had watched the Netflix special. It's really good. I do recommend it. I can't remember the name of it. Our Mother's something. I can't remember, but it heavily concentrates on Colby, her oldest son,
Okay.
and his phone calls with her. I literally cried, and I don't cry. I'm cold. I'm cold. Y'all know me. I'm
Well,
cold.
you're desensitized.
But I did. Like it was so sad. He was like, "How could you do that?" And she was like, "You don't know anything." And he was like, "I know that my sister is dead. I know that JJ is dead. I know these things."
Right. Right. Oh wow. Really kicked off, and Lori fought with her. Hmm.
Go
I
ahead.
yeah, I wish I had more to add. I didn't follow the case that closely, so I'm in
No,
the
no,
dark.
it's okay. It's okay. It's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I think all bats to cats. I think it's Our Mother the Killer. Yeah, I think that's what it's called.
oh.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I didn't want to follow it. I did not want to. I just, I had to. I didn't have a choice, and so, but because I had said to myself, I'm not touching that. I'm
Right.
not going
Well,
near that. I'm not looking at that. I'm not watching it.
I would have
And
followed like the trial a little bit, like just, you know, chime in here and there, but with the whole voice thing, you really couldn't get
ugh,
much out of it anyways. I like to see
no,
faces, and that's just boring when
the
you're
audio that was
yeah,
ridiculous. I
I
mean, that
know.
judge was scared. He
So
did not
ridiculous.
want.
Yeah.
And one of the I was watching when I was waiting for Court TV to bring up the thing today. I was watching and one of the news media was speaking and they were saying that they had been protesting this whole time, still submitting things to try to get you know cameras in the courtroom.
Mhm.
And she thinks that's why he finally gave in, and she said she didn't understand why they couldn't at least do closing arguments,
Right.
because at that point you don't have to worry about witnesses, you don't
Nope.
have to worry about the jury. Real, I mean, you do, but he tried to say that it would affect the jury. Not really. I think they
That
do fine.
why?
I think we can trust people to know that part of it's being filmed and they could
Yeah.
still make rational decisions. But yeah, I
Which is how many court cases are filmed? hundreds,
All of
thousands,
them now, right?
hundreds of thousands. That
Mhm.
just seems ridiculous for Lori's case. Like, what makes her so special?
Right, and well, and the reporter even pointed out that it helps with appeals because when someone is trying to say they were treated
Yes.
unfairly, they can go back and look, were they actually
Yeah,
treated
Judge.
unfairly?
Right.
Did they have terrible counsel, you know? So yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, I don't know. Um yeah, old bats to cats, I was obsessed with the Letitia Stout case too. Kim and I both.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I
I just couldn't wait to hear the next person. I would, in the end, when they were so excited about Dr. Lewis, I really expected so much more for whatever reason. I
and
was
I
like,
was so worried. Remember? I was
yes.
freaking out. I was like, no, no, that woman cannot come on there and say she has DID. I was freaking out. Oh,
Oh my gosh. And then when they proved uh that she asked for the MRI and CAT scan or
yes.
whatever,
Well,
and
if they
then they
proved that,
read
yeah,
her
yeah.
emails,
Oh,
my jaw hit the ground. I'm like,
yeah,
this woman is lying. At
right.
this
She
point,
lied.
she
Yeah,
is lying. And she
yeah,
couldn't recognize her son who was in the
yeah.
room.
Oh,
Yeah,
exactly. He's like, who is that in the room? She's like, oh, I don't know. And he
I
was like,
can't, I don't
isn't that your
recognize.
son?
You don't recognize your son? And it's like, woman, what are you doing?
I have to say, and I'm not sure, but that may actually be an appealable part for Letitia, the entire Dr. Lewis thing, because the freaking I'm sorry, that Mr. Tellini, and I won't call you Tortellini anymore. Mr. Tellini, you should not have been in the room with your freaking you don't get an expert witness and then go in the room so that you're influencing what's happening.
And
You
he
don't do
chimed
that.
in, like, he wasn't completely silent the whole
Right.
time. If he was sitting in the background, as Dr. Lewis explained, I I,
Yeah.
will have a he'll refresh or I can't even remember what she said, it was so dumb. But then when you hear him chime in, I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh,
He was like, "Isn't it? Wasn't it this?"
he
He
wasn't at
actually
this,"
said,
and it's
"Yeah." I was like,
l
"Are you kidding me?"
yes,
If
the
that had
whole
been the
thing was
prosecution,
ridiculous.
if
Yeah,
that had been the prosecution, it would have been grounds for a mistrial. Period. I'm
sure,
sorry. You don't because the thing is, you don't go in the room because then you could be under subpoena. They literally could have subpoenaed Tellini and put him on the stand and made him testify to what he saw in that room.
sure.
That's why you don't go in there. That's why DAs are never in the room when there's a confession being made. They don't
Mhm.
want to have to be on the stand to say what they heard, what they saw.
Right, right.
Yeah. She said that she wanted him to see and hear what she did. And he said, well, this is being recorded. Couldn't he watch that? Yeah, but I need him in there, to well, how'd you put it? To talk through my ideas with. Are you kidding me?
Kidding me?
He's
Sure.
a defense attorney. You're the expert.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Old Betsy Cat said the same thing. She was
Yes.
looking, for him for guidance.
Yeah,
Do your job. Just that's all
exactly.
you show up, you're being paid to do one thing. You don't look for the defense attorney for guidance. Why wasn't
Right?
the prosecution there? Why wasn't a big old party to
Exactly. If you're gonna
with
bring
Dr.
one, you should bring the
bring 'em
other.
both?
And I'm
Yeah.
sorry, but you shouldn't have them in the room anyway. Come on.
On. No.
And
Ridiculous.
I worry, I wonder if this is something that's happening in her age. We talked about this before because I still revert to she really did have experience, but now I question, my God, she said that she diagnosed hundreds with DID. I don't know that she's ever seen it, Kim.
I you after her testimony, I would
Right?
have to question the same thing. And I really thought it was because of her age, and she's getting a little bit older, and she's
Right.
not she's retired, so she's not fully in the game anymore. But her, I'm like, what? what was your end goal, woman? Like, you make no sense. You make no sense. You basically handed a guilty verdict
Yeah,
because of your lack of who she is, what she did, why you're
yeah,
saying she has it, and uh, uh, not what was it, not requesting things that you said would definitely
right. She
tell
said
her that she has it.
precursors, right?
Yes,
Things
right.
from before, things she could have looked at, and she didn't. She didn't
Yeah,
talk to Al. She didn't talk to people. She talked to no witnesses, none, not even Harley. She didn't
sure.
even try. Hillary Wallace wants to know what happened with Dr. Lewis. Well, what happened was the first day, hi, Tina Powers, the very first day, um, every question, even the questions that the defense had for her,
Yeah,
she didn't seem to know the answers. And this was their witness, and he seemed to even get aggravated with her,
right.
and he barely questioned her. Do you remember? It was a couple
Yeah.
hours, and then he was done.
He
And
was I
then
think he just wanted to stop because even as a defense witness, she was horrible. Even his questions that he's trying to basically well, his ultimate goal is to get Letitia off, and she knows that. So he's asking questions that they would have already discussed. Like this would have had they met 3 hours what the day before or whatever. It's like
right,
she should know these answers to the questions. He was there during the interviews, like, and then her testifying and being a horrible witness for the defense. Thank
yeah,
God, though. Thank God, though.
and then the other thing that happened, Hillary, was that on day two, um, hang on one second. On day two, she came in, and you could tell that she had read her notes. And it kind of irritated me, but I was like, okay, go ahead. So you could tell she had read her notes, and she said one thing that no one pushed, and it made me so mad. She said that when Letitia was little, she wanted to be called Maria, and she said that that was something that she found in the somewhere in the case file that
Riles,
someone
yeah,
had said. She couldn't tell who had said it.
right,
Nobody pushed it. They asked everybody if
right.
at any time in her life did she ever want to go by a different name. Did she ever ask to be called Maria? Did she ever? But the other things that they didn't talk about, um, she didn't talk about the fact that most people with DID will say they they lose time, as in
Yep,
it's 1 p.m. and they're standing in front of the sink, and then the next thing you know, it's 5 p.m. and they're at Walmart. Or more likely, something will show up at their house, a gift, something they've ordered, and they don't remember ordering it.
ordering it. Yeah,
There are signs, there are gaps, there are reasons.
right.
And
She mentioned none of those.
no,
None
she
of
didn't
those
bring
were
that up at all.
nothing. And as much research as she would have had to have done, Letitia with the law library and all that other stuff, it
Yeah,
seems like that would have been something that she would have
Letitia would have
immediately
brought up.
said.
Yep,
Letitia would have brought up just
yep,
because she was doing research.
yep.
I don't know. It was bizarre that that was not like I don't remember the Gannon thing. Like that would have been,
Right.
acceptable
I
instead
don't
of
remember what happened. Why didn't
yeah,
she say that? If Maria did it, she should have said, I have no idea what happened.
right.
I have no idea. I lost all of these hours. I come to, and this little boy is dead.
Yeah,
Because if everybody listened, Maria said, I'm a killer. I was raised to be a killer. I kill everyone. I have the bullet, I have the gun, I kill. That's what I do. I was raised to kill. And I killed the threat. That's what
yep.
she said. But Maria didn't stick around and clean up. Maria did not say any of those
No.
things. So
But
Letitia should have come to and found a dead body and been horrified.
horrified. I'm calling
You
the
know,
police immediately. I'm so sorry for my actions.
you should have been
I don't
just
know what happened. Yeah.
right. Kristen Skuris said she did the exact same thing years ago in the Shawcross case. Kristen, I was looking for that. I could not remember the name. Thank you, Shawcross. I am gonna go look that up because I am really kind of interested how this happened, and I'm wondering if she became an expert in DID because she was one of the first. And so her ideas and her themes were out there. But
Yeah.
then when she started interacting with people and she started testifying, I don't I don't know. I never
Right.
expected
Right.
anything like this. And then on day two, well, first, she doesn't show up at 9 o'clock. And they're waiting and waiting and waiting, and she doesn't show up. And she gets there like, what was it, 10:30?
Yes.
And then they go to lunch, and she's supposed to be back at 1 o'clock, and she doesn't come back till 1:30. And so the next day, the judge says, Dr. Lewis, what can we
Yep.
do to make sure you're here at 1:30 today?
Like
Because, I've
like
asked
I
you to
want
be
to
here,
help
I've asked you
you.
to
Do
be
you
here.
need a ride? Do you need
Right.
some extra
Do you need
help
help?
getting
Right.
around? Yeah.
What can we do?
Right.
And I couldn't hear what she said because she was sitting over by the jury, which drove me crazy. Couldn't hear half of what she said then. But yeah, and even the prosecution said, do you what is it? He basically said, like, are you are you comfortable with breaking the rules? You didn't show up for court on time. You didn't get your reports on time. You've testified before. You know they're supposed to be here 45 days before court. You didn't do that. You didn't get your preliminary report in, and now you have these notes that you're not supposed to have. So,
Right.
do you not recognize rules and regulations? He even asked her. I was like, "Thank you,
Yes.
thank you," because of
I
that,
think that he is very forward, which I can appreciate. He's not going to surprise you with, oh, thanks for being here. Oh, I understand. No, it's, hey, these are the facts.
Yeah,
Can you please answer these simple questions?
exactly.
Factual questions.
Yep.
And he just laid it out. And the woman is just, no.
No,
Mm.
no. And
I
Stanley
have a
said,
little touch of food poisoning.
right,
I, oh my God. I'm like, woman, you are a hot mess. Hot mess. I
right.
think she just was sick from the day before because of all the pressure of how she couldn't
Well, and
answer the questions.
she said something like, first she what was it? She said, I'm not in charge of the schedule. Really? Because you met with the defense on Sunday. You knew when you were supposed to be there. You were the star witness. You were everything they pinned their hopes on, and you weren't in charge of the schedule. You know.
Right, right. Yeah,
And
which
then, so still on that last day, the prosecution says, Your Honor, before the jury comes in, and he's so composed about it, I'm going to ask Dr. Lewis about this note that she had in this video. And
mhm.
basically, it's a confession in Latin. And I'm going to ask her if she has it. I'm going to ask if she's seen it. I'm going to ask her about it. I want to make sure it's not in her lap with those papers she has.
Yes,
And so the
yes.
judge
No
asks, and she says,
surprises.
Yep.
Not
She says,
because it's
No, I don't have it.
lost. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
lost. It's gone. So
Yeah.
I just
It's
want to
gone
make
forever.
sure that
Yeah.
you don't have, or she doesn't have, so it's not a
Right.
surprise later when she pulls it out. I just
Right.
want to make sure, Judge.
So they ask, and then he asks about this second paper. I want to make sure that she doesn't have anything. I don't want to make sure. Nope, she says, I don't have that. 3 questions later, he asks her about, well, now she says still that confession in Latin was lost. Even though copies were made, it was lost.
It was lost. I would
But
have loved to have seen that Latin
exactly.
note. I would have loved, yeah.
I wonder how much she screwed up the Latin. I wonder how long it took her to research the Latin because Latin's all backwards. Like you
Hmm.
say your adjectives or your adverbs first or whatever it is.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
guys know what I mean.
This
So
is the
yeah,
defense. He did this. He's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
threw
Yeah.
it in the garbage on purpose because it was nonsense.
He was like, yeah, this has got to go, right? And and so then she brings out this paper that's got like sign your name here, sign Maria's name here, sign so and so's name here. And she was like, "Oh yeah, I've got that." And the prosecutor was like, "Your Honor," and he was like, "That's it. Take the jury out."
Out.
Like
I,
that was when he was just
and
yeah.
then the prosecution was like, this is what I was trying to avoid. That's why I asked these questions because he's like, this is silly. When he started out with the
Mhm.
first thing, he's like, this is silly, but I just want to make sure that it doesn't pop
Yeah.
up. Sorry,
Right.
judge, blah, blah,
Not a
blah.
big deal. Yeah.
And then it freaking happened. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah,
And she didn't even
exactly.
know for sure if it was even in there. She just was like, "Oh, let me check my notes." And it's like,
Yeah.
at that
Like,
point,
you're
you've
what?
already said 5 seconds ago, she can't remember 5 I know she can't remember last month or last year or but you
Yeah.
can't remember 5 minutes ago when you said
Yeah. It
those notes
wasn't
weren't
that
there?
long, And so then the judge is like, that's it. I want all of her notes to be given to the prosecution, which that
Yeah.
is exactly what's supposed to happen. Every single
Anyways,
every
yeah,
single bit of her notes are considered discovery. They
yep,
go to the prosecution. That was a Brady violation right there. I'm
sure.
sorry.
Yeah.
They should have been dinged for that
Yeah,
because
and
if the
that's
judge
at
had
this
turned,
point, this is when you started saying they they
yeah,
need to disqualify her as a
I was
witness.
like,
I'm like,
that's
"No,
it.
no,
I'm
no,
out.
don't
That's it.
disqualify her."
I was like, that's it. I'm out of here. I'm throwing my papers everywhere. Like,
She
you
needs
can
to
be
be
a bad
disqualified.
witness, but don't break the law, man. You
I
gotta get
know.
that discovery in. Like,
Right,
yeah. I was
right.
like, when she came in and said that she was reading a note, I was like, wait a minute. I was thinking, why doesn't the prosecution have this? And I'm
Yeah.
thinking, no, he has it. He has to have it. It's her
Right,
note.
right,
He
right,
knows what
right,
that's like.
right,
Every
right.
single thing you write down about a patient goes to the prosecution. That's why you're careful about what you write.
Sure.
That's why you're an expert, you know?
Well,
And
exactly.
and yeah, 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 and then there was the point where he actually had to tell the jury to disregard what she was saying.
Mhm.
So I don't know if you remember, but it was when Tellini was asking her about he was saying, well, when we talked, didn't this happen? And the prosecution objected. And he was like, yeah, absolutely sustained. And she keeps talking, and he was like, stop.
Yeah. Yeah, this isn't her first hundreds, mind you. She's been in
Right.
hundreds of testimony in a trial. She knows this isn't her first rodeo. This isn't a novice person that is on the stand. She's done this before. And the fact that she keeps talking just tells you, in my opinion, she was there for the money. I don't think
Oh
she
yeah.
was there in any other capacity to
No.
promote. They started out promoting her HBO thing. They're
Yep.
talking about how much she's being paid, and they're
Yep.
actually arguing about how much they're going to
Yeah.
pay her. I thought it was 350, and that's
Exactly.
a discount. And I
Yes.
there's no other. It makes no sense. She made no sense. Nothing about her even being on that stand. It only helped the prosecution. It
Yeah.
was a train wreck for sure.
Um. In in the chat, Sam, me, that is our very own Amy. We love Amy. Amy has made some good points here tonight. I don't know if many of you know, but Amy actually has DID.
Yeah.
She came on and talked with Kim and I. She was very, very, very good.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. What's Amy doing tonight? Is she available or no?
she's not feeling well, so we're not going to do
Okay.
anything tonight. But
Okay.
she said she'd
Yeah,
stay
that's
in the
fine.
chat for a little bit. But yeah, she's pointing out that DID is a system, and she knew nothing about it except for really big overgeneralizations. All she
Mm-hmm.
would talk about is disassociation. That's
Right.
not all that's there.
Right. Right.
There's
Right.
more to it. And like
Right.
Emmy pointed out, it is a system, which means everyone's accountable. And not only that, but uh, DID is formed for a point, right? It's formed to protect the person, right? That's what they're all there for. No
Right.
matter what they do, they're there to protect the person. So they're not going to do something contraindicated to the person. They're not going to go and kill a child, without a reason. They're not going to do that, and they're going to be held. They're going to be held accountable and held back by that system.
Right. Right.
So yeah,
I
oh, I'm
everything that she
sorry,
said, it
love.
just
Oh, she was just saying that too many trauma triggers with Leticia and Lori in the same call. It's okay. It's okay. No worries. No worries. I'm sorry about that.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, she didn't talk about any of that.
Right. Right. Right.
It's like she had never talked to anyone who actually had DID. Oh, she wanted to go right on board and talk about how, Sybil had been discounted. The woman who was Sybil.
I know.
She was like, right out of the bat, I just want to make sure you guys know that wasn't real.
When they were
Okay,
talking
so
about Robert De Niro, wasn't it Robert De
oh,
Niro? Yeah, yeah.
right. She's
You
like, "Yeah,
were
he didn't do a good job."
he didn't do a good job. I'm like, "What?" She's like, "Oh, there's other movies." And I'm just like, What are
Right?
we watching? How is this?
Right?
How? How did
Like,
we get here? This makes no sense.
right. Amy was just saying, a child might even be triggered to play with Gannon seeing him in a cape. Because don't forget, there were all, and that's the other thing that she never addressed. Letitia named her personalities, she named them herself.
Yeah.
And, she didn't talk about their ages. She didn't talk about, where they come from, what they do. She didn't talk about anything.
Oh, she
These
did
are,
this. Remember during her interview, she's like,
oh,
I'm
the
like, that's
thing
something, their whole actress moment. I'm like, that's what you see in the movies. Like,
when
that's
she
not.
when she put her hands over her face, I was like, if she comes up and has an accent, I'm gonna lose it. And I did right then. I was
Oh,
yelling at my TV. Yep.
Letitia, stay in your lane. You are not an actress at all. That
No,
was
no.
so stupid. It was so
Yeah.
stupid.
And yeah,
Oh,
she didn't even know. So yeah.
well, it was funny. It was like Maria has an accent. She was talking in Russian, or wasn't it Maria? It was Maria, right? Yeah,
Yes, it was
she
it
was
was
talking in Russian.
supposed to be a Russian accent. It was terrible. It was like a mix of Spanglish and I don't even know.
No, yes,
Originally, Maria Maria was supposed to be Spanish, right?
right, right.
But apparently, instead, she's a Russian. Come on, I could be Maria.
I would be a better Maria than her, and I don't know much even about DID, but what I do know that is not
Hmm.
not yeah. It's like
Yeah.
what? And then the next moment you're in the same person, but then you have a different accent.
Oh,
It's yeah.
exactly.
What?
And I'm sorry, but Maria is the only one. Oh well, I'm sorry. Taylor came out. Taylor was cute.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
whatever, whatever. Yeah, Taylor was cute. Yeah,
Body
yeah,
goes limp and can say it's no talking trees for a long time, and depending on if you're finishing that. Okay. Yep. Yep.
yeah.
I couldn't understand anything of that interview, and I don't think it helped at all. I think it made it
No,
worse because it just looked so it looked like actressy. It looked fake.
yeah, yeah, exactly. You could tell that she was faking it,
Yep.
and Taylor was supposed to be this what I don't even know. We didn't get her age. We didn't get anything about. I don't think a background. I couldn't tell. A lot of her interview, I couldn't hear. I
I
could
couldn't hear either. It was kind of like muffled in and out. Yeah.
yeah, I could clearly hear the terrible Russian accent. I could hear
Mm.
that, but yeah, and exactly. Old Bastard Cat said, I will never forgive that cow for trying to say Lena helped her carry Gannon's body. Someday Lena's gonna be
I
old.
know.
Someday
Yes.
Lena's gonna be old enough and she's gonna know. You know? Yeah,
I'm when I blew my head literally blew up. I was like, "Hold on." And I'm texting you, "Lena and Harley knew?" And then it was like and you even responded like you came to you put me you took me off the ledge because you were like, "If they knew, they would have said something." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's right."
yeah, yeah.
Because I mean, they love Gannon. They're not gonna cover up for Letitia. I mean, no way.
Right.
They would have said
They were
something.
interviewed and they were talked to, and heck, Harley was talked to on the stand. But
Right.
yeah, but exactly, if I had heard that before, if they had played, I wondered why the prosecution didn't play any of the interviews, and now I know. Because if they had played those earlier, it could
Mhm.
have confused the jury. The jury could
Sure.
have thought, "Wow, did Lena know? Did Harley know?"
Right.
They could have, and they didn't. Because I was like, "Why aren't they playing her videos? Why aren't they? They have access to it."
Right.
But
Right.
yeah,
it was Elise, it was absolutely evil of her. And especially when Harley, we've already heard from Harley,
Yep.
and she was so convinced her mom, I'm sorry about the dog barking, but she was so convinced that her mom was innocent. She's texting Al, I hate you. I don't know why you're doing this to my mom. And,
Mhm.
and then Al is just saying, I love you.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it
I love
broke
you.
my heart.
I'll give you a minute
Oh,
through this. He was
look at
trying.
he was
Yeah.
trying, but she was convinced that her mom was innocent. So if she had anything to do with Gannon in the beginning, she would be covering for her mom. She wouldn't be defending him and doing what she did. It made no sense. But at the
Exactly.
time when I heard that, I lost my shit.
You're
I'm
like, oh
like,
my
oh my
God, did she
gosh,
really say that? Yeah.
did she really say that? Because or did it really happen? And obviously it did not. Obviously it did not. There's no way. There's no way. No way.
Yeah.
They
The interviews were, I mean, the video, whatever we want to call it. I don't even know what we're calling those. The Emmy nominations, Oscar nominations, they're they're not go they didn't go well for her because I didn't believe a single bit. I was just
Mm-mm.
like, because I tried really hard to go into an open mind when it became the defense's turn.
Yeah.
I knew I didn't have one. I knew she did it, but I was like, okay,
Right.
let me
Right.
see what they say. I was gonna
Right.
try. I don't know how to do that. I was gonna try, but I didn't do very well because as soon as they started playing as soon as Dr. Lewis starts not knowing anything, and as soon as she starts not remembering anything and she can't describe DID, and she says that the only way that she will diagnose DID is if someone has already said they have it, and if they have historical experience. So if they have a lot of therapy, if they've been in enough therapy, if they've had mental health issues, if they've been in hospitals, whatnot, if they've got a background that she can see and look at, and then also collateral information, so from
Sure.
family members through
Right.
time saying, oh yeah, this is weird, she used to do this all the time,
Right.
or but and she had none of that here.
None.
It was all absent. We knew it was absent. She tried to make up some, what was it? She tried to make up some hospital in Canada that she stayed at
But couldn't
when she
prove
was,
any of it.
yeah,
Yeah.
when she was with Al. Really?
Yeah. She couldn't prove any of it though, but it happened for sure.
And your life is on the line. You are accused of murder. And if the only way you can get out of it is by finding, therapy appointments you went to, you're sitting in there doing nothing. You're going to find those appointments in your head.
Oh my
And it's
gosh, you're
gonna be
gonna
like, oh
rack
yeah,
your
that's
brain
it.
or look
Yeah.
here, because she's in jail. She can't like go through, but have
Yeah.
your whole family. She's still talking to Harley and her aunt, maybe her aunt, sister, mom. I don't know. She still had family that she was talking to that could go find some documents or do some
Sure.
research for.
Yeah.
But she couldn't provide that because it didn't happen. Of course, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
She's a
I
I'm just mad we don't know more because she went through the day. The
Oh,
only thing
right.
she was consistent about the candle and taking,
She remembered every single thing, right? Except
yeah,
that. Except that.
except for that. It's I don't understand how she like could recall everything except for like the main
The most
story, the main,
important part,
yeah,
which is what Al was saying when he did his thing. He said she's too lily livered. She is too much of a coward to actually say what happened. She couldn't even do it in there, being Maria. She couldn't, because here's the thing. Don't forget, she's trying to be Maria. Maria could have said anything. So she could have actually told the truth being Maria, whatever that was, right?
right, right.
She couldn't even do that. And
No,
yeah, there's a lot of talk in here. Elise brought up that that Harley has a lot to deal with because you're supposed to be able to trust your mother, and especially with girls, it's the most important relationship in your life is the same sex parent. And you're right. What is she has to deal with this forever?
ever. Yeah,
And
there's
people are going to
no
be
escaping it.
covering this
This
case.
case is huge. I mean, we covered it, so many other creators covered it. The news is talking about it nonstop. Like, this is one for the books. This is a why am I drawing a blank? The girl that killed her boyfriend and the other one, Kaylee.
Casey Anthony.
Yeah, I mean, this is big Lori Vallow. I mean,
Yes.
these both are big cases that are going to be talked about for
It's not going to
years
go
to come.
away.
It's not going to go. Hell, we're
No.
still seeing Jodi
Arias case,
Yeah,
right?
Arias, people covering her. It's
Yeah.
and this is many, many years later.
Yeah.
She's going to have a constant reminder, and especially with she doesn't have the same last name, right? Harley.
No.
No,
No.
she doesn't.
Harley
Okay.
Hunt. She has
Yeah.
her
So
dad's
yeah,
name. But that's
well,
out
she
there.
has that.
Everyone
Yeah.
knows. Everyone knows Harley
Yeah.
Hunt.
I
Everyone
know.
knows her. Everyone knows how
Yeah.
to find her,
Yep. Yep. She's
and
gonna be
yeah,
brought up, and then her friends are gonna see it, and they're gonna text her, and she's gonna be like, don't text me that. I'm done hearing about it." Yeah.
that's what it's going to be. Yeah, because everywhere she goes, think about that. They talk about how employers look on Google and Facebook and YouTube, they look for you. So when they go look for Harley Hunt, what are they going to find?
Yeah.
They're going to find us. They're going to find people like us still
Sure.
talking about her and her mom. You
Right.
know,
Right. Right.
I, yeah, for a long, long time. I don't think the case was so crazy and her stories were so crazy. And especially when they got to the phone calls with Al the first time through, I just kept wanting her voice to go away. I really did.
Oh my
And
God.
so I was
Yes.
missing a lot. I was missing so much. So I
Yeah.
actually went back and listened a second time because
Oh
I
my
was
God, Jeannie, you are a better
concentrating.
person
I
than I am.
did.
I went through it one time, and I'm like, that is enough. Ew.
Well, I was concentrating more on Al. I really
Oh.
wanted to get
Okay.
more. It was when I was trying to find out more about Al, and I wanted to get more of his point of view. We didn't get to see him,
See.
and
Right.
so it was hard for me to connect with them. So I did listen to him a second time, and the stories were so tremendous, but he was so hopeful.
And
My
patient with
God! And
gibberish.
even at the end, she says, "If it was an accident, and I tell you the truth, will you help me?" And he's like, "Yes, baby,
Yes.
absolutely. I will
Absolutely.
help you. Tell me whatever it is. This is it." And it's like he's thinking she's finally gonna do it. And then, damned if she went and
Wi-
said this stupid story about how he hit his head, and some guy came and took him off. Please,
It just
I was
you were
just
never
like,
going to get the truth. You're never going to get the truth of what happened. And I have so many theories. I mean, I'm not going to waste everybody's time on with them, but I have so many theories that I've worked through my head of what happened that day. Was the candle intentional? Was it
"Oh
not
God,
intentional? Did she burn him? Was this all an escalation from one small incident that she felt she needed to cover up? Like,
right."
all of these
Or
things
did it
that
all happen at once? Right.
did it all happen at once? Did it happen over a couple days? How was he when he got into that truck
I
and they were riding around? And what was her plan that day? And why did she stop at Petco just to be seen? It's just, I have so
right.
many
And then
questions.
she goes up there where she ends up taking his body. She went up there that day. She was scouting the location ahead
When
of
he was
time.
still alive, though, when he was
He was
still,
in the back seat. He's right there
yeah.
with her. What happened in that car?
What
What
happened
was
in
that
that car?
conversation like? I mean, was it
Yes.
was it normal? Was it just Gannon, you know, maybe not feeling well because he still had the stomach thing? She gave him a boatload of Mylanta and laxatives the day before.
Yeah.
So he was probably feeling terrible even from that,
Sure. Sure.
but I really hope that it all happened at once. I really do because
Yeah. Yeah.
he had a lot of defensive wounds, and we don't always see that with
Yeah.
kids.
Right.
You don't see defensive wounds because kids don't think to fight back.
Yeah.
They're not supposed to.
Right.
Damn it,
Right.
they're not supposed to have to. So he had those, and so then I hope.
I hope too. I hope too. In my head, I just don't see that happening that way, but
No, I don't either, honey. I don't. I
yeah,
wish it. And if we could have one answer, I would really just love the truth about the candle incident. You can take everything else. We just want that one, right?
Yeah, only because that's the only thing that stayed consistent throughout. I believe that something happened with that candle, and I know that she lit the carpet on fire to make it look worse than what it was.
She had to, yeah, because it wouldn't
She had
burn.
to, and she saved Lena and the dogs, but left Gannon right next to
To
the
the fire,
candle, to the fire.
right?
I'll get
She
those
sees the
out, but I'm gonna
fire,
leave.
sees the smoke, but then goes upstairs and gets the dogs and Lena.
Yeah,
And that had to have happened because they would have talked to Lena, and Al would have talked to Lena, right?
Lena. Yeah,
Because
because Lena is
Al
with him.
probably
Yeah,
right. Al would have questioned her at some point about what happened that last day. So that has to have some part of it has to have happened where they got in the truck and they drove around because she thought things were on fire.
yeah,
Which so that had to have happened. But then, you know, and yeah, and then giving him the hydrocodone and maybe that is what it is. Carol said maybe I think she gave him a ton of hydrocodone and was driving around Douglas County hoping he'd OD. It is highly possible.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
at this
It's
point,
totally
everything
possible.
is.
Right.
We
The
talked
fact
about
that
that.
she was the fact that she was almost you almost have I'm almost convinced that she was scouting out places for
Yeah,
him. I mean, that's the only reason why you'd go to the area that you
yeah,
ultimately end up dropping him at. That's the only way my
yeah.
brain can
Right.
comprehend. Yeah. And so what
It's not accidental that that's where she took him
right.
with, took his body in the suitcase. And um best boy, the autopsy didn't show the burns because he was too decomposed.
Yeah. He was
So they
he
were
was
lucky that his hands were clenched. So they still had the defensive wounds.
yeah.
But he was too decomposed for a lot of things. They counted the 18 sharp force impacts, which that's a stab wound. They counted 18, but
Yeah.
remember he's very decomposed, so we don't know how many there really were.
Oh, right. Right.
You
It could
know,
be 18, it could have been 118. We don't
it
know.
it could have, and there's also the strangulation. I mean,
Mm.
we're lucky that they got that. I mean, if it hadn't been for those
The
bridge workers, and Al thanked them, by the way, I don't know if you remember, but in his thing, he thanked the bridge workers for finding his baby boy.
yes. Yes.
You know,
Yes,
I
absolutely, absolutely. I think if any parent, even though it's the worst news possible, at least you have some kind of closure. I, I,
you have
I,
your
I
child back, yeah, in
yeah,
some way.
I've never been in that situation. I hope that I
No,
never am in that
no,
situation. And so I don't know what that feels like, but I only in my head I can only imagine if your child is missing, whether and you already know the police are already telling you that we don't think that he's still alive. There's just way too much blood. At that point, you've already got some sense that he's not alive. Now just bring him home so I can get that closure. And
exactly.
and which is the worst news possible, granted, but it is some kind of closure. It has to be
Well,
to be
how
able to
many
bury him.
parents?
Yeah.
Right. Look at EquiSearch. Texas EquiSearch was started by Tim. Oh, I lost his last name. He freaking lost his last name out. Fell right out of my head.
That's
I will
okay.
pull it up. He started it because his daughter was killed, and there was a period of time between when she was killed and when her body was found, but her body was found, and he
Yeah.
said, you know, he couldn't imagine Tim Miller. Sorry about that. He couldn't imagine um, a parent their feeling. He could imagine their feelings of not knowing where their child ended up, where they were.
Right.
Yes, Miss
Right.
Peggy, Tim Miller. And so that's why he started it. Originally, it started on horseback. That's why it was called EquiSearch. So they started on horseback because this was Texas.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
he advanced to everything. And Tim Miller, actually, uh, he does require law enforcement. He requires that they invite them in, But pretty much family members contact him, and then like 2 seconds later, law enforcement's like, "Oh yeah, Tim Miller, can you come help?"
Right,
He
right.
started for Kaylee.
Yeah,
He had people in the water that probably went right over where she was because, when that happened, Tropical Storm Charlie and Tropical Storm Faye had just come through and sat on top of Orlando. I lived like
right.
an hour from Orlando, so we got it too, and we everything was flooded for so long,
Sure.
and so she was underwater when he was there. But he still talks about that case and how he regrets that he couldn't find her. So I can't imagine what would happen if no one had found the suitcase.
Right, right.
Where where the family would be, where this case would be. you know, I mean,
Oh, sure, exactly.
what would they be able to
Exactly.
prove without that?
Right,
You know,
right.
and without being able to show exactly how she took him down there.
Oh, exactly.
The
They're
the
they
telematics and the live 360, and then this phone and that phone, and that was brilliant. I mean, that was
well,
brilliant.
would she as far as them finding him, she was telling Al that it started with the mafia, the Mexican cartel or something like that,
Oh
and that
yeah, yeah,
he was probably
Mexico.
in Mexico, and she was hoping that dumping him, because she's so dumb, though it didn't work out in her favor, where he did float, he just pretty much landed,
Yeah,
and I think she was hoping that he would float onto
the
where
Gulf of
she was,
Mexico.
the
Yep.
Gulf of Mexico. So I,
Well,
I'm
she found out Quincy Brown was in Mexico. Remember? And
yes,
so then all of a sudden, yep, Gannon's that's where Gannon's at. He's in Mexico. And you're right. I
yeah,
think she really was dumb enough to think the suitcase was going to end up there. With the way the tide works, it would have just gone down the coast of Florida. Would have gotten probably snagged on the Keys if it was actually in the water. It wouldn't have
right.
gone anywhere near there. The tide
Oh
doesn't
my
flow
gosh,
that
no.
way. You
Right,
know,
right, right,
she,
right,
but you're right. She thought, I'll put him in here, and then when she starts with her stories, well, maybe he's in Mexico. He could be in Mexico by now.
right.
The Mexican cartel and the Mexican
Oh,
restaurants and the fake pregnant belly. But yeah,
oh
sorry,
my gosh.
I love the cash belly woman, but
Oh
you're
yeah,
right.
for sure.
I
Oh my
think for
god, all
sure
of her
she thought
stories.
that yeah,
Yeah,
that's where he
we,
was headed, and so she could just say that,
but I'm
Lydia,
so glad it was found. Yeah.
the tides don't flow that way. They
Right.
don't even they don't go. I mean, come on,
It's so funny how she can be smart in one area and
and
so
be so
dumb in
dumb in
another.
another,
She
right?
is just the worst criminal ever. Like who's gonna believe the garbage? And even the doctor, Dr. Lewis. And this is one thing that I did take away from what she said, because Dr. Lewis is an esteemed doctor. Like she's done really good things. She's graduated. Mind you, she is getting up there in years, and she it doesn't seem like she's 100% at the top of her game, but she does make the point that Letitia's stories, like she said, Letitia's a smart woman. She's not a dumb person, but the
Yeah,
stories that she tells, it just
are
doesn't make
dumb.
any sense. Yeah, it's outside looking in, it's like, what?
Yeah.
It, she made no sense whatsoever. And even she was like, I don't under her stories are just unbelievable.
She also said that they were fantasy and that
Yeah,
DID people live in a fantasy
fantasy
world.
world.
It has nothing to do with fantasy, you Yahoo.
Yeah,
Come
yeah,
on.
I know. You're a you know this. Like she should know. Yeah, I
Exactly. I wanted real data out of her. Even if it made
yes,
Letitia look more crazy, I wanted the real deal
real
from her.
right, right,
I
right.
wanted, like I told you from the beginning, I wanted somebody to say, yes, she has DID, but that does not make her insane.
Sane.
I
Right,
wanted that. And, she didn't have it. Dr. Lewis was a flop, so it didn't go there. But
right.
yeah, it's just a fantasy world. They make up these fantastical stories, and she made it seem like, right, Letitia's logical, and so these stories are fantastic journeys, so of course she has DID.
Right.
And I'm thinking the whole time, have you not considered that she's a manipulative, conniving
B.
person? Yeah, I stopped myself. Person? You know,
Scratch out person and put B.
yes, you can do that. You go right ahead. But yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Somebody, anybody, get up there and say, "Yep, she's got it." That doesn't make her insane.
Right, right, right,
I've told you my belief. I think that makes them more sane. They find coping techniques, they find coping abilities in their brain that we don't have.
right,
And I think that makes people with DID more sane. Does that mean they can't kill someone? No.
right,
But
right.
there's
Somebody
certainly
without DID can kill. Somebody with DID can kill.
exactly
It doesn't
exactly
one doesn't equal the other. It just
no,
doesn't.
they don't. And I don't like when defenses drag when they drag a diagnosis in and try to tie it to insanity. They do it all the time with schizophrenics. They're constantly trying to tie, a diagnosis to insanity. And I don't believe the two are the same. It's
Sure.
like when the prosecution said, can you find the definition for insanity in this? And he was holding up the DSM-5. It's not in there because insanity is a
The
legal term.
legal term. Right.
It's not in there. It's not what it's about. It's about diagnosing and helping. So
Right,
yeah,
right, right.
I I don't like it when people do that because I think that you can be evil and be sick, and you can be evil and be healthy. You know what I mean?
Right. Sure.
I think that evil
Absolutely.
does not
100%.
discriminate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Evil doesn't discriminate, and she's definitely, I'm sorry, my opinion, evil. It's just my opinion.
No, I'm 100% with you. She was a manipulative, lying, conniving, and it's just fascinating. It's probably the worst word to use in such a horrible case, but how she got there, how not having any evil intent before, she didn't get along with people. She definitely loved the drama. You could tell that for sure, but I don't know. I think it was something
Well,
about
yeah,
OCD, her OCD or something, and something happened. I don't know what it was, but yeah. I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know.
Um,
It'll always be a
it
mystery.
did.
I will always be racking my brain trying to make sense of all this.
You never know. Maybe someday somebody will get something out of her. A writer will contact her, want to write her
I,
story,
yeah.
turn the
You know, it
tables.
I like that they're not able to make money. You know what I mean? They passed that law where you
The
can't
son of Sam
profit.
Law. Yes,
Yeah, yeah. Which
cannot
is
profit.
good. It's good, but then again, it's like you kind of get more information when they can profit
When they
from it.
can write a book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a double-edged sword. I do not want Letitia to have
Well,
any. I don't even want her to have commissary. I don't want her to be able to get ramen noodles in that place. I hope she starves to death, if I'm being
they can
completely honest.
she can still write a book. She
She's
just
and
can't
that's
profit from it.
and that's what yeah, but
You know?
Letitia, she's so freaking lazy, I don't think she would even waste her time. Or maybe
No.
she will because she likes the spotlight. I don't know,
She likes
maybe.
to talk. She does.
She likes to
So
talk, maybe.
I don't know, but yeah, that would be interesting to see what would actually, could you imagine being the author trying to interview her? Like,
Ugh. You
like
know,
it'd be like
I would read that
lassoing
book.
a
There's
tornado.
not yeah, right. There's very little criminals that I would wanna read their book, honestly.
Oh
You know what
yeah,
I mean? Because it's
very
all gonna
cute.
be garbage. But in this case, because I've watched intently for the why, what happened, like
Yeah.
any kind of seed I could get or any just maybe possibility. I was looking for it and came out empty. So I would read that book. Shamefully, I would read that book.
Yeah. Amy made a good point. If she comes out and tries to say that Dr. Lewis manipulated her, but she would lose her mind. Yes.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
yeah,
Yes. I would lose my mind too. And that would be something that would happen to
well,
cover.
and interestingly enough, don't forget, she wasn't the only, psychiatrist to talk to her. She talked to Dr. Torres, and she talked to
Right.
Dr. Grimmett, and she talked to
Yep.
the other one, and I cannot remember his name. He did the test. He didn't testify. Is it Niederhauser? I think Niederhauser. He did the test. So she wasn't. It wasn't the first one. It was just the first one that would benefit her. And the prosecution even said to Dr. Lewis, "Did you not review Dr. Torres's file? But did you
Right.
think she worked for us? Because she didn't work for us." None of them worked for the prosecution. The prosecution didn't bring in any witnesses of their, psych witnesses that they paid for.
Right.
They only brought in ones that had already evaluated her independently before they had the case.
Yeah, exactly. They had no stake in it at whatsoever. They're not going to
Right.
benefit. They're not going to
No,
lose anything. They're
no.
they're just it's a clean slate. This is my expert testimony.
And the best that the defense could do was, well, isn't your hospital overcrowded? So isn't it that you don't want to say
Don't
she's
want.
insane, so she'll be in your hospital? And the doctor was like, "What?"
I don't care about that.
She said, "I'm pretty sure that there's a separate section and separate beds that are set aside for, criminally insane, legally insane. So it's not an issue." And I don't think he liked that, but yeah,
Right.
that was the best he could do. Yeah, your hospital's overcrowded, so you didn't want to say that she. Yeah.
Which is ridiculous. I mean,
Hmm.
I mean, when you're grasping for straws, you know what I mean? And that's all it was. He's trying to find any kind of loophole. He had no leg to stand on, and he said it
Nothing.
in his opening statement. He basically said he didn't want to be there.
And he didn't. He walked right out of the room. What was that?
I thought that was another actress moment. Him and Leticia were made for each other. Yeah, that was
Yes.
ridiculous. I've never seen a lawyer do that before. That's one for the books for me.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
it went silent, and I'm like, did he actually leave? Like,
Well,
he
and he
can go to
didn't.
jail. Like,
Right.
what's
And
going?
he like came back, and it was the shortest nothing opening I've ever
Ever
heard. I was
heard?
like, what?
It
You
was
know, I,
words, words, words,
yeah,
and nothing, no context. It is
no. And yes, Dee, we did already laugh about Al calling Letitia nappy
nappy
headed.
head. And
Yes,
then,
can
like
we
I
give
said,
Al a standing ovation for that one?
oh my gosh, it was what we were all thinking. But it
Uh,
was funny because he said she wasn't always like that, which
right.
is
His
how.
point was, look at her now. That's not who she always was. Like, and at first I thought it was like he was trying to say, look, I wouldn't marry a crazy woman, but he was trying to show the difference.
Yeah,
Look, this is who she was supposed to be, at least.
yeah,
It's who I thought she was. That's why I trusted her. It's why Landon trusted her.
right,
God. And
right.
Landon, did you get that Landon and Landon's aunt both said Letitia had been putting out there that Landon was addicted to drugs and she was not? Did you get that, Kim?
I didn't.
Yes. She said that she was smearing her name and making her a drug addict. Yes.
Well, I
And
know that she said she dabbled in drugs, but she had gotten sober. So I don't know. I don't know if
yes,
I
she
don't.
said that she was trying to deal with having her third baby. And because Landon, I don't know if you know, but Landon has babies early. Like
Oh, okay.
Gannon was early.
Right,
He was
right,
only 1 pound 6 ounces, right? She has problems sustaining pregnancy. So she was dealing with the birth of her third child, and she was trying to deal with this small baby, this premature baby.
right, right, right.
And so she said, "Can you take the kids for the summer? Can you
Oh,
take the
oh,
kids
right.
for a while?" And then Letitia goes, and her entire defense team, everyone starts saying that it's because Landon's doing drugs. And she was telling Gannon this. Yeah,
Oh,
that's what she
oh, why
said.
would you tell a? I don't know
Yeah,
what his age was at the time, but why? What was your
yeah.
what was your point of saying that to a little child that your mom's addicted to drugs?
She said,
Oh, you know what? That would make sense because she didn't like that Gannon loved his mom
right,
and she's taking care of him. So it would
yes,
make sense that she would say that.
she said that she told, trying to think, I don't know if it was Dr. Lewis or Dr. Troyes. I think it was Dr. Lewis because that's the only one I heard. She said she was trying to get him to see the light. And she said, "What do you mean?" And she said, he always says, like, "Mommy, it's okay if mommy doesn't have money." And Leticia would say, "Well, if she didn't spend it on this, she would have it." And she said, "I kept trying to get him to see the light. I was the one that was raising him, and I wasn't getting called saying I love you. Sometimes he said it, but
Right.
not all the time."
So she has Al that's not appreciating her. She has Gannon that's not appreciating her, still loving her mom, still loving his mom. It,
Yeah.
it all makes sense. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and so there she is telling this little boy, and Al even said he was a mama's boy. He just wanted to be a mama's boy. Why couldn't she let him be that?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that was her biggest hurdle was that
Sure.
he Lena probably connected with her different because she's a little girl. They did
R-
little girl things, right?
Right. Right.
Little boys and their moms, it's different.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, yeah, she was incredibly mad that there she was doing it all, and she didn't want to be doing it all. Let's not
No.
forget that.
Right.
She wanted to be working and showing how smart she was. And for some reason, they couldn't hire a nanny. I don't know why that never got into the equation, except for the babysitter Angel and the threesome that I'm not even going to talk about.
Which is
So,
gi- what
but why?
gibberish,
Yeah,
garbage.
why
Yeah.
couldn't they hire a nanny so she could do that? And she kept saying, you know, I'm the stepmom, but I do it all. And
Hmm.
I don't get told I love you. I don't get called mom.
Right.
She hated that,
Right.
and
Right.
he loved his mama. And, a lot of times when kids are away from their parent, you're going to idealize your parent anyway, right?
Oh,
But
for
when you miss
sure.
them, you're not going to think about things that they did that maybe you didn't like. Or
Sure.
maybe if your mom is, and it wasn't, I want to go out there and say that, but let's say your mom is doing drugs, and you, even at 11, know that, right?
Right.
When you're away from her, you're still going to be thinking, she's trying to get better. She's trying to do things so that I can see her.
Is
That's
it
what you're
my
going to have in
fault?
your head.
I'm sure he played
Right,
some guilt into it. What did I do to make
right.
my mom not want to be with me? But we've talked about this offline that parents, even the worst of parents, the worst cases that we've covered, the
Yeah,
these poor children that are being tortured, that try to write their mom letters and try to, I love you,
yeah,
and it doesn't matter what they do. It's their parent. They still love them no matter what they do. And they try to
yeah.
like do better, be better. And, and it's like, they
Even
don't
though, look
understand.
at
Yeah.
Anthony Avalos. Do you
Yes.
remember?
I was going to bring up that and I was going
Do,
to bring up
do you
Gabrielle.
remember
Yeah. All
he
those
had
cases.
that?
He had that what?
Oh, he had, just before he was killed, he had gone to school and he had two black eyes and his head had been shaved all crazy, and he made that Mother's Day I love you book, right? And he kept,
Yes.
in this book, it's on each page you're supposed to put what you love about your mom or what you like about, and he was still trying.
I'll be a
She
good
was
boy.
locking him in a, you know, she was doing horrible things to him and always had.
Yeah.
She was really truly horrible. And
The
she
a
was
devil. Yeah.
he was getting beaten and starved and everything, and he still was trying because they're still going to try, even the
Right.
worst cases, just like you said. Always trying to connect. They're always trying, because that's your instinct.
Yeah.
Your instinct
Yep.
is your parent loves you.
Right.
So
Right.
he's gonna have that with his mom no matter what. And she
What?
wanted to beat that
Yeah.
out of him, I think.
Yeah, no
you
matter
know?
what she said, she wasn't going to break him because that goes beyond natural instincts of any child. It's just never going to happen. But she's trying to make him see the light that I'm the parent now. You should be calling me mom. Or she never said that, but you know what I'm
Yeah.
improvising. But yeah, and she couldn't do it. She couldn't break him.
Yep.
She could.
Exactly.
She couldn't get appreciation from him. She couldn't get appreciation from Al.
Yep. She kept making Al tell her she was the better mom. She was doing a great job. Yeah. All of these things that I don't know if they were true. I don't know if she was doing a good job, but I do know that she was trying very hard to undermine his relationship with his mom. And
Right.
it washes out everything else she might have done. I don't care what else she was doing. I don't care if she cooked a good dinner and she did homework with him. I don't care.
No. Yeah.
If you're going against his actual parent just to make yourself feel better, then I'm
Mhm.
sorry.
Yeah.
I got
Yeah.
nothing for you. I
Right.
just don't. Yeah.
And I think that all ties into the video that she took of him, the manipulation, where she was like, we have to sell things and we have to. I know we've talked about this, guys. Sorry to bring it up again, but I think it's all tied together. This whole manipulation that she is in constant mode of doing. You know, I'm
Yes.
going to create this video so I can prove what? What were
What
you
was that supposed
proving?
to prove?
Yeah, and it was just another manipulation of, "This is your fault, Gannon.
Yep.
Whatever happened, which we will never know, but
Yep.
we need to sell things," and,
You
I'm
know,
just
what did she say to him? She said, "Can do you swear that you didn't do it on
do it
purpose?"
on purpose.
He says,
So
"I swear."
something happened that yeah, yep,
And she
yep,
says, "Pinky," and he says, "Pinky."
Picky,
Like, you know, yeah. What was the purpose of
of
that?
that, to prove that it was his fault,
Yeah, exactly.
and
Exactly.
not only to him, but to the people that she shared it with, what, her
But to
Facebook
Landon and
or
Al,
yeah,
yeah.
to yeah, I
Well, she
and they
sent it to
both
Landon and Al. Well, they both reacted exactly how we would. My child is burned and crying, and you're making a video?
yeah.
You
They
know?
even Al said that's child abuse, and then Landon later, of course, she didn't testify, so she wasn't able to say, exactly. I'm
Yeah.
sure she would say the same exact thing. We have to sell
Well,
things.
she's, yeah.
You were able
Yeah.
to run
She
away with
said,
all $5,000, but you need to sell things to
she left
buy
with,
a couch.
yeah.
What?
That was my thing. That really got me when on that call, because I said to my husband, we sat here and wrote down every time she stayed at a Candlelight Suites. And then I
Yeah,
found out how much she paid at the Candlelight Suites, which was 185 a month,
yeah,
85 a night. So I
right.
added it all up. And I'm like, this doesn't count gas, Uber, Grubhub, because
Yep.
Harley said that they had food delivered to the hotel room because they
Which
didn't
is
have a car.
expensive.
Remember, they're
That's
just
like
driving on
50,
a big trip,
$60.
right? Right. So I said, how did she do this? And then there's the phone call, and he says, you
You took
took
all my money.
$2,000. That's one full. What do you say? It's a fourth of what I make
Quarter,
a
a
month.
third, or yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And he's like, and I didn't say anything to you. I didn't say
right.
anything at all. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. They had $2,000 she could just run off with. Oh, I'm sorry, but that would have definitely fixed the carpet.
And the couch. Eh,
And
go to
yeah,
Value
exactly.
City or whatever,
Right.
is in
I
the
can
lower
definitely
level.
find her a couch and a carpet for under
Yeah.
$2,000. I can help you
Facebook
out, not a problem.
Marketplace, girl. You apparently you know
I
about Facebook
know.
Marketplace. You were trying to buy a bike, right? Buy a cheap
That
couch.
really got me. When she said that, when I found out how much she took and how
Yeah,
much he made. And granted, they had the house and they had 3 cars they were paying for. One of those was a lease, so that's at least 350 a month just for that car.
yeah, yeah.
I'm probably lowballing it.
No, I think you're about right. Yeah.
Many
Our
years ago, I had a
trucks are
friend,
expensive. Yeah.
right, and he had the truck and then Harley's car,
Car.
and
Yeah.
so all 3 cars and the house. So yeah, I'm betting their bills were high. However, if they actually had $2,000 in there she could just run off with, they could have fixed the carpet. So what was the point of the video?
To prove
Unless it,
that it was his fault.
yes, yes. And
Oh, that poor
yeah,
boy. That poor boy. Oh my lord. That was the beginning of the end, which is so scary. It is so
right.
scary. I don't know what was in her head to tape that. It was. I don't think her intentions were ill at that point.
No, but it didn't matter, right?
It didn't matter. No, it didn't matter.
No,
And
it's
you
too
just wonder
late.
if it wasn't, if it didn't happen then. Would it have
Right.
happened at a
If
different
that didn't
point?
happen, right, what would it have just been different? Because, they made a good point that she, you know, early in the night, she talked to Al about he's going to stay home tomorrow. 4:30 in the morning, she called her job and lied and said that her stepfather was killed and she would have to take off time off work. She was setting
Hmm.
a stage to leave. So
Yeah,
she was. And hang
she
on a second.
was absolutely
Hang on a second.
100%. I really think the defense lawyer irked me when he asked Letitia couldn't have hurt Gannon because she took the happy pics the day before, which was so heartbreaking. Like the fact that they brought those pictures and Al has to see them, and it's just. And we know social media, we know online or even Instagram pics are highlights of everything. It's not reality. It's not how the world works. It's
No.
not
Right.
just I can be in total crisis and take a frickin' selfie with a smile, but that means absolutely nothing. It means nothing. I don't I
Doesn't. No.
but again, the defense was grasping for straws this whole time. They had nothing. They had nothing at the end of the day. They had nothing to
Yeah.
even. That's why I didn't realize, or I didn't understand why the jury took 7 hours. There's there's nothing that they
Right.
laid out that even in my mind planted a seed that maybe, you know what I mean? No, there was no point where I was like, oh, oh, well, maybe. No, never happened. Never happened.
Exactly. Exactly.
The
Thank you.
wholeheartedly, yeah.
Um,
Yeah, exactly. He was pointing out
Sorry,
the
I got
time.
distracted. My son is cooking dinner for me. It's amazing. It smells
Okay,
so
what
good
are
in
we
here.
having for dinner?
But yes, we are having pork chops and shells and cheese and I think a veggie. But tonight he went and cooked. He made caramelized onions for us. He doesn't even like onions.
Ooh.
He's just doing it for me and his dad. Right?
Aww. Aw,
Right?
hugs. Hugs. you,
I was
you have
like,
a
"Why are
good
you
boy
gonna
over
cook an
there.
onion? You don't like onions." And he was like, "It's for you." I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" Like,
Aww.
yeah, yeah.
That's sweet.
It's awesome, right?
Oh, of course. Big hugs. Big hugs.
Yes, you will get those. I
uh,
just I look at him and then I think, how do you do something like this, right?
yeah.
How do you know? Yeah. I It was hard seeing the medical examiner pictures. I was really surprised that they put those on the air. It's the
Oh,
first
gosh.
trial that I've ever seen. Usually, especially with the child, they don't put anything like that up there, right?
Right, right,
Um,
right.
they don't show it. So I was shocked. Oh, Goddess Love is here. Hey, Goddess Love, how are you doing, honey? How are all of you in there? I just, yeah, I was shocked at some of the things that were shown. Most of the
Oh,
time in
sure.
a case with kids, the judge says right up front, no pictures of the autopsy, no pictures of the way the body was found. A lot of times they'll even do no pictures of the kid at all,
Sure.
right? I
Well, the
mean, when we watch
family's there. They have to see that in the
right,
world. Yeah. I think you can explain it without showing it, but Eh,
Um,
they were trying to make a case, and
well, you remember the Rosenbaum case?
yes,
They didn't show any pictures of the actual child that died.
right.
Even even the one in the hospital that we had already seen, right? They didn't show, they like were really
They'll
hardcore.
do their wounds like, like a little, not the actual, but
Right.
just
They'll
arrow.
show a bruise, but it's
Yeah,
not a
yeah.
picture of the child.
No, it's not a picture of the actual bruise. They'll just do like a
Right.
stick figure with arrows to, not a stick figure, but
Right.
you know
They'll,
what I mean.
they'll do the body, right, and they'll put
Right.
where everything was.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right, right. Which
They
is
don't usually
which which
show.
which is enough. I don't know. I don't want to see those pictures. I just
Oh yeah,
personally,
it's enough.
yeah,
That is not what we don't do. That's not what we do.
yeah,
I do go over autopsy reports all the time.
right,
And so I do read those and I do know what those things mean, but that doesn't mean I'm looking at pictures, you know? I don't get the pictures, I specifically don't.
right.
So yeah, I
I
was
just
really
it's
surprised that it was out
heartbreaking
there.
enough to
Yeah,
hear what they have to say. I don't need to see it. That's the Brianna case that I covered, where it was a lot of pictures of wounds, and
yep,
it just,
yep,
I hated every moment of it. It's just
yep.
disgusting. I just don't want to see it. So the fact that they had that in Gannon's case is just,
And
I
then
just,
it's out there,
and it's out there, and
and
yeah, and once you put it online, it's,
it's there
yeah,
forever.
it's there forever. Yeah, yeah,
You can try to
and
hide it, but there's the Wayback
yeah,
Machine.
yeah, right,
I,
right, right. It's just sad. It's just sad all around. But it,
is, but I have to say, it was such a it was so satisfying of a verdict, right? And
oh
satisfying of
gosh,
a sentencing because don't forget that the judge called her what, a grievous monster, I think.
yes, a
I
grievous
mean,
monster.
he. I was like, oh, bring it home, judge, bring it
He
home.
straightforward as usual. Nothing.
Yep. And like, we've been waiting for this. Bring it home, buddy. Somebody's got to give her the knockout punch, and it's going to be you.
And you know what? I think he was excited to do it.
Yeah,
Why did he do it immediately? Like,
right?
he's like, "Oh, we're here. We've
Yeah.
already blocked out this week.
Yep.
Let's do it right now." He was
And I
not.
don't know if you saw, but between the sentencing, between the statements and his sentence, he said, I know you guys are gonna hate this, but I'm gonna take 30 minutes, and I'll be right back. His eyes were red, and so was his nose. And I don't know if he was
Oh,
crying or not, but he was
yeah.
close. He had just
Ooh,
listened to Al and Landon, and I mean, it was hard on us. He
yeah.
saw every bit.
Everything.
He absorbed every single piece of this.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
I mean, that has to be really hard on him, too.
Oh my gosh. How many? I don't. I know the judge has covered. I'm familiar with his name, but I have to imagine that this case, he's a human being. He's a person. He's not a,
Absolutely. No.
as much true crime as we covered. I
Yeah.
cried. I
Yeah.
bawled my freaking eyes out, especially when I heard the guilty verdict. It
Yeah.
was, justice for Gannon.
That actually made me cry. Isn't that crazy? They said guilty, and I'm like, no, no, no. What is this with my eyes? My eyes are wet. I
Oh
need to go
my
wash the
gosh.
tape.
I bawled. So and I'm just an outsider looking in that it didn't
Right?
absorb everything. I'm watching it on TV, but I'm doing laundry, and I'm, taking a shower, and I'm doing this, and, doing other things where he's center stage to everything. You cannot tell me that he did not get emotional. It's
Right.
impossible. He's a human being, and you can tell that he's down to earth. Like, he's not.
Right. I think we see that, we see that robe, and we think that they're removed, but I don't think
Think,
so.
yeah,
You know,
not in a
I
case like this. Not in a case like this. I think there is,
no.
there's other cases, and I'm not going to devalue any other,
No,
criminals
no, no, of course
and
not.
stuff like that. I mean, I think but in Gannon's case, for whatever reason, he was a sweet boy. I mean, it's just, he was loved by so many. You took
Yeah.
him and then and you tried to cover it up and you dumped them like trash. Like there's no way
Yeah,
that you can
yeah.
you don't feel that. I don't know.
No, and
Thanks, Jennifer.
you've heard judges say, 1 minute. No, I do not. Ask Daddy. You've seen judges say, in all of my years, this is the worst case I've had. You see them say that,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I think for him, this is going to be one of them because, I don't know how you don't take that with you, how you leave your work at work and,
Right, right.
they say, leave your work at work and, you know, but no, you're going to know that much. And yeah, um, yes, Amy was only 15 minutes away from Letitia's trial. And no, I could not convince them to go, which I get. I'm not sure that, I don't know how I would have done sitting in the trial. I was sitting at
I
home.
don't
I
think they
could
would
watch
let
it.
people. They were only letting like media and the family. So even if you wanted to, you couldn't get in
Mm,
there. But I would
yeah.
love to go. I would love to go and sit through that trial. I'd probably bawl my eyes out
Sure,
half of the
cry the whole time.
time
Yeah.
because I
That
could
whole
get just
time while you're
yeah,
trying to take notes. Right. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I get distracted at home and, am able to kind of like, when it gets too rough, kind of like go and do something else. But when you
You can
are,
walk away, you can pause it, you
yeah,
can, yeah.
right, right. But when you're there with you are absorbing every word that everybody says. And oh my God, Al would break me. He would break me. Oh,
Yeah.
I'd probably be crying more than fricking Landon, and I don't I'd be like, "Get out of here, you don't even know him." I feel like I do, though.
Yeah. I've seen interviews with them since then. I watched one right the next day, and she Landon said, hang on, I think I have the notes here. Where is it? I wrote it at the very end. I grabbed my pen and I put it down here. She said she felt peace and happiness, sadness, but most of all, when they said the word guilty, she said I had so many scenarios in my head, running through my head the whole time, and they
Yeah,
just kept running through my head. And when they said guilty, I just felt peace. Like I can let all of
oh,
those go.
right.
And I don't know. Al has talked about, now he wants to talk about his son and not her. And I like that
Yes,
too. He told that judge he wants her to he wants her to not be Stauch anymore. They are divorced
right.
and he wants his name back. And I don't blame him. He said he had to sit through that whole trial with her being called Stauch. And that,
Stouch from her
yeah,
defense.
exactly. I know they didn't even know her name. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I gotta yeah. I didn't even think about that, though. I did there was so much going on that I didn't even really
Think
that's
about the
funny that
last name.
the
Yeah.
last name, even
Yeah.
when he said it, it didn't really even register, but
He
that
was interviewed when he got his divorce was official. Like people were outside the court and like we're right there. Like, how do you feel? And he was
right,
like, well, just glad this part's over. But he knew that was years ago. He still knew he was gonna have to come and he was gonna have to come and what was her last name before? Harden. It was Harden.
Harden. Yeah.
Yeah.
Harden
Letitia
makes
Harden.
more
I don't
sense.
think she ever took the
Harden.
name Hunt. Yeah, I she was let me think, she was married to Chance Hunt. They were married. I maybe she did take his last name, but I never saw anything. Like when I pulled up her past arrest, I never saw Letitia Hunt. I saw Letitia Harden and then Letitia Stauch. So I don't know if she ever changed her name to Hunt. They were married a very short time. I think it was under a year. So I don't know, but I don't blame him for wanting his last name back. And I don't.
Right.
Yeah, that's a great new
Can
last
you
name.
can that happen? I've never heard of that
I
actually
don't
happen.
think
Can
they
you
can. I don't
Yeah,
think
I don't
that
think you can.
legally
Yeah.
they can do
Yeah.
anything. I mean, it is legally her name until she wants to legally change it. So
Yeah.
no.
Right,
But
right,
I
right.
thought it was great that he asked for it, just like he asked for the solitary
Yeah.
confinement.
I you know, do you blame him? But yeah.
No,
Yeah.
no, no, no. Mm-mm. Not at all. Yes, really. He said that um, he wanted his last name back, and he also wanted her to have. I don't know if anybody missed this in the beginning, but um, he wanted for the 1,370 miles that she took his baby's body to Florida. He wanted her to have 1 day for each mile. So
That she drove.
1,370 days in solitary confinement. And I think that's brilliant. I think that he had a great idea. I
I
do.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
I think he put a lot of time into his statement. It was very thoughtful. You know what I mean? It
Oh,
wasn't
yeah.
he wasn't shooting from the hip. I mean, there were
No,
moments, of
no.
course, um but
There was
actually,
the time when he collapsed on the podium.
right, right.
It took him a minute, but no, it was very composed and very I don't know. It's kind of like the picture that we got of Al. He seemed like a very dependable, um, like he just always did right. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
I
sure.
don't think he had. I think he walked a good line. He was in the military. He had his family. He loved his kids, and he took his kids, to take care of them.
Yes,
It felt that he was a better
yeah,
parent for whatever reason,
exactly.
whatever. And it seemed like he wanted to do the right thing, whatever that was in
Yeah,
life, in
right.
general.
Always.
Is he a saint? No, I doubt it.
No,
But
but I went looking. I went looking. So remember when I covered the case, I went looking, and that means I looked into everybody and I looked into him and I couldn't find anything. Like I couldn't find anything, any bad reports. I couldn't find anybody talking bad about him. I mean, as much as people ate at Landon, I couldn't find anything bad about Al,
yeah,
you know?
I
And
don't think he was a bad guy at all, like any stretch of the imagination. No, not at all. I never got that sense.
uh-uh. Mm-mm. And the jab, yeah. I Kim and I were talking about that he had defensive wounds, but we don't know how much she fought because don't forget that her
I'm
second
shaking the
count
table.
was murder in the first degree, a child under the age of 13 in position of trust. It's it was about that position of trust for him and her, and he trusted her. So we don't know how much he fought.
Yeah,
We know he fought some. He had some defensive wounds, but his body was very decomposed. So we don't really even know what happened to his body.
right,
You
right,
know, but yeah, the position of trust that's a big deal. And I'm
right,
glad she
right.
got a second life sentence for it. My son said, I don't understand the point of two life sentences. And I said, a lot of times cases get they will get torn apart in appeals. This happens, that happens, and sentences get reduced. But if you have
Yes,
two life sentences, it is a lot harder to
yeah,
get it reduced to 50 years or
yes,
whatever,
yes.
to
It
number
because
case.
people forget. People forget, and time passes,
Yep.
and it's out of your mind, and then she goes up for some kind of after 25 years, possibly, which, yeah, I'm pretty sure she wouldn't get parole, but you just never know what can happen
You
in the
never know what
future.
happens to a case after, right?
Oh
Because
my gosh, so many things can happen.
it goes to an appellate court and they look at it completely differently from a different standpoint and they see everything, including what the defense did wrong. That's a beautiful plate of food. Sorry. What the defense did wrong. Um, you know, they see all of that. And so it happens a lot where, I'll bring it up and this is gonna hurt you. I know it is. And yes, she does have to be the one to request her last name being changed, but he did
Yeah,
want it changed.
right.
Um, yeah, so all right, the Chris McNabb and Courtney Bell trial. Christopher McNabb was the one who killed their 2 week old baby, but Courtney, the mom, was also convicted because she put her children in a place where they could be killed. And the
Yes.
judge said, she should have expected that. Now, recently, That has been her sentence has been overturned.
Which is
And
ridiculous.
right, the first half of it is gone. Now the second half of it is before the Supreme Court. That's Ohio. Is that Ohio? I think it's Ohio. Before the Supreme Court, and I watched the the um the arguments, and I'm scared. I'm really worried because the defense sounded a whole lot better than the prosecution. The prosecution made this point. The defense said, look, yes, he had hit her, so she knew he was a bad guy, and he did drugs. She knew he was a bad guy, but he'd been around their 2 year old, been raising their 2 year old, and never hurt the child. So how could she predict that? And so the prosecution gets up and does their thing. Well, here's what the Supreme Court said, and this just blew me away. So what they said was, are you saying then that every abused woman is going to be charged with felony murder because they didn't get their child out of the way? And they were like, well, we're not saying
Mm.
that. And they're like, well, you kind of are, because you're equating this to felony murder. So you are
I think
saying that she's
McN-
responsible for this death. And if she was responsible for this death, then any abused wife, any abused mother, can be charged with this.
I
And
think they're generalizing though. They need to
they
know the
are.
facts that
That
she had her children taken away. She went to work knowing that he was a bad guy. He left. If I leave my kid with Jeffrey Dahmer, what the hell do you expect's going to happen? You know what I
right.
mean? My
That's
teenage
that's
boy
what
with
I'm
Jeffrey
saying
Dahmer?
though.
Yeah,
That's what I'm
I think
saying. That's why.
they're
Right.
generalizing. No,
They
she
are,
made
and but they have
decisions.
to, because
Yeah,
remember, whatever decision they make is going to inform the next case. Because anytime you go into court, you are always citing appellate courts. You're always
right.
saying, well, they decided this. So their problem is they don't want to keep her in prison for this, because they're afraid that then the prosecutors in the state of Ohio will start charging battered women with this when their kids get hurt.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah, they do generalize. That's what I'm saying. That's
Yeah,
why
you
you
have
give
to look
more.
at from case to case. You can't say
Right,
overall we're going to charge every woman. No.
right. But
We just covered that one case where the mom went away to army camp and her, you know, they had a few clues, but she was
mm-hmm,
just going to work, you know what I mean? And then
yep,
her kid gets killed. There was no I mean, there was occurrences that happened that were a little fishy, but there was no real abuse. Should she
yeah,
be charged? No, she wasn't there. She had no idea what was going on. It isn't like she agreed with the man before she left to go ahead and do this,
yeah,
or what he did. In her
right.
case, she knew the abuse. She knew her other kids got taken away. She knew he was a bad guy. That's totally different.
Right,
Yeah.
but that's what I'm saying. That's why you give more than one life sentence, because you need to
Yeah.
show the severity of it, and
Yeah.
you need to show that if it goes to the appellate court,
Yep.
maybe they get rid of one of those life sentences, but you don't get rid of both. They don't let her out because they realize how serious that judge was in his sentencing. That's what I'm saying. Because appellate courts look at things differently than we do. They don't get into the minutia of the case like we do.
Right.
And
Right.
so sadly, a lot of times they overturn things that I think are just foolishness.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, the thing is, it wasn't just that she had a bad guy in there. She actively sought out said bad guy. She left her
Yeah.
kids with her cousin to go and get high for days. She was also doing the drugs. And
Right.
then they brought up the, well, okay, it was meth. What if it had just been pot? What if it had just been
What if it would
opiates?
have been nothing? What if
They
it was,
literally were
yeah.
asking the prosecution this. And he was like, well, I can't really speak to that because this is this. And they were like, no, we need to know, what is your take? Where do you draw the line?
Line.
What drug is hard enough?
Right.
Is it that it's meth? Or is it, what if it was just marijuana? And one of the judges actually said, I don't think anybody kills on marijuana. Literally. And I was like, I did check. This is Ohio, right? We're not talking about, California. But literally, He was like, yeah, I don't think people really kill on marijuana. And so then
I'm
another judge was like, well,
not because
right,
of marijuana, but people
well,
kill
right,
on
but he
nothing.
was
Yeah.
saying, just
Yeah,
was
yeah.
saying it doesn't cause. And so they were
Right.
saying, okay, then where do you draw the line? Is it
Yeah.
because it was meth, or is it because he was a bad guy, or is it because he hit her? So they were really drilling at this prosecutor. And I got to tell you the truth, it didn't sound good. It didn't
Mm.
sound good. I have a feeling she's going to get out. I have a feeling
Ugh.
the rest of it is going to get overturned. Yeah, I thought I'd just warn you. Prepare yourself.
Ugh. Ugh.
I have a feeling that she might get
Disgusting.
out.
Hold on,
And
my TV turned on. I'll be right back.
okay. Um, I don't think any child murderer should be able to get parole. Oh, I'm so sorry, McNabb, about your baby. I am so sorry.
Sorry about
And
that.
I agree. I don't think any child murderer should ever get parole. I
No,
absolutely agree. And I am so sorry about your baby. That is terrible.
that is
Um,
terrible. Sorry, love.
yeah. Like I said, I told Kim I can't imagine the loss. I don't know how to go there. You
Yeah.
know? I mean, I can see it, I can identify with it, but I can't really because my little boy, he's not little anymore. He's
He's still your
22.
little boy. Yeah.
Yes, he's 6'1" and he's 22 and he's brilliant. He just cooked me this brilliant dinner just because, for no reason. He doesn't remember that Mother's Day is coming up. Shh, don't tell him. He doesn't remember. He
Well,
just did it for no reason, just because.
aw,
Well, I don't know, because I wanted to cook.
aw.
So, so I can't put myself there. But what I can
Right,
say is that I think if you kill a child, you should not get parole.
right, right.
I don't care if it's a 50-year sentence, if it's a numbered sentence. Part of the problem is in a lot of states, if they get a numbered year sentence, they only need to do 30% of it. And a life sentence is actually considered 90 years. So someone could actually serve 30 years and get parole.
Yeah.
So
And she's
that's
third.
just
That would
like,
be 68. That woman should never see the light of day.
yeah,
Never.
it doesn't work for me. It just doesn't. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, but
Yeah.
you
Well,
know,
woman, go enjoy your meal. Go enjoy your freshly cooked meal. I'm gonna go eat myself as well. Oh, it's so nice of them. Well, yeah, we can end it here. I appreciate everybody being here. I'd like to do more lives if you guys are interested.
yeah,
Just leave it down in the chat if you guys want to see more. We have unfortunately, there's always a case going on, so there's always something to talk about.
we can always talk about cases.
Yeah.
We have too many cases. You guys
Yeah.
can give us cases to talk about. That would be an idea, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I
You
would
give
love
us the
that.
case and we could research it. And
And yeah,
I
do a
love
live
these
and
lives. Yeah.
yeah, me too. Me too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, enjoy your meal. Thank you so much for being here, Jeannie, and thanks to
You
everybody
too.
else. Yeah, absolutely. And have a great evening. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there.
Yes, too,
Enjoy.
honey.
Yeah, thank you. All right, you
Bye.
guys, have a great evening. Love you.
Love you too. Night.